The Lord's mansion, the afternoon sun shining on the city wall. Mina and Ellie held mini fans blowing on their faces to cool down. Ellie expressed, it was clearly dusk but still so hot, the electric fan had given her a second life. Mina also exclaimed, much cooler. Ellie pointed the fan at Luong and asked, young master, you've been drawing these past few days. What are you drawing? Luong replied, I'm designing a passport. Mina and Ellie were surprised when they heard that. Passport? What is a passport? Luong handed a piece of paper to the two of them and said, look at this first. Both of them picked it up and read it. Recently, cities had caught a large number of people who had crossed the border without going through the border gates and had sneaked into the country. Furthermore, the number of people crossing the border was still increasing. The cities near the border gates had the most obvious increase. In the past month, the number of people they had caught crossing the border had exceeded 2,000, an increase of 50%. Luong further explained that people who cross the border without passing through the designated border gate or without passing inspection will not be allowed to enter the country. They could be refugees fleeing the country, commoners and nobles who heard of the name and wanted to immigrate, or they could be spies and assassins arranged by people with evil intentions to sneak in. Ellie put down the report card and said, in the past, we used border guards or increased patrols to prevent this situation. However, with the increasing number of people crossing the border, it was indeed a bit difficult to guard against. Luong agreed, yes, that's why he wanted to solve this problem through passports and legislation. Passport is a document used to prove the identity of foreigners, just like our national ID card. It records nationality, age, address, basic information, and also has a number and a fake room stamp to prevent forgery. Once the passport visa system is implemented, every foreigner entering Han Dynasty needs to go to the consulate of their home country in Han Dynasty or Han Dynasty border customs to check the passport, record personal information, and have it checked by the security agency. From now on, only those with valid passports and visas will be allowed to pass through the border gate. Having no passport, having a passport without a visa, or forging a passport will all be considered border crossing. Of course, this category must also be coordinated by border management laws, and different sanctions will be applied based on the severity of the crime committed by the border crossers. After listening, Mina couldn't help but sigh. This way, we can effectively manage the system for those who enter the country, not only preventing those who have their own ulterior motives and laws, but also avoiding wrong judgments. The young master is really amazing. Ellie still has some doubts. It's really a good way, like those who have entered our country, but have not been caught by the security agency. How should we handle it? Luong asked, what do you think? Ellie crossed her arms in front of her, slowly walked towards the window and said, the young master designed passports to facilitate administrative management, reduce unstable factors in society, so that people could live better, not to hunt them down and kill them all. So we can promote the passport policy, encourage those who cross the border to proactively apply for additional passports and visas. But if it is in accordance with the policy, we will apply for additional passports and visas, and we can even arrange jobs. As for those who have other plans, of course we must fiercely attack them. Luong laughed in praise. Ellie was handling official matters more and more skillfully. Mina teased, at night, the young master had taken special care of her many times. Ellie couldn't help but blush and stutter, she was talking nonsense, what special care? Finally, because she was too embarrassed, Ellie hugged the stack of papers and turned away, saying, the passport is so useful, I have to quickly print it out and use it quickly. Mina said with a slightly worried expression, thinking that there might be a lot of people hiding in Chang'an City, I'm very worried about the young master's safety, why don't we notify the security company, tell them to pay more attention to the movements of people outside. Luong reassured, he had already discussed this with Nuayu and Dees, they will take action tonight. Then he suddenly grabbed her hand, hugged Mina, and reminded her, Mina, what you need to worry about is how you will be with me tonight. At Chang'an City's big market, Prince Nemo uneasily suggested, Big brother, we have to convey a message to the emperor, at least we need a messenger. Right now we don't even have a single attendant. Prince Knight smiled smugly and said, I've already planned it, we can find the Torola merchants. Just then, a group of people came over and asked, may I ask if you two are Prince Knight and Nemo? Hearing this, Prince Knight turned around and asked, it's us, who are you guys, what's the matter? He couldn't help but wonder who these people were, how long had they been here, did they hear anything? Prince Nemo beside him was a little happy, although he didn't know what they were doing, it felt very impressive. The girl remembered that when Dees came, he said that today there were 2 Torola princes in the city who cheated her out of food and drink without paying, and were almost beaten by me. Now they are working in the market to pay for it. Hearing that, she was startled and questioned, Lord Dees, how could you do this? At this moment, the girl standing in front of the 2 princes introduced, we are the staff of the Han Dynasty Consulate. Lord Dees said that 2 princes encountered some difficulties, the consulate represents His Majesty, invites the 2 of you to stay at the consulate. Prince Nemo wondered, what is a consulate? The staff explained, the consulate is the main organization responsible for receiving foreign guests. After entering the Han Dynasty, the 2 of you will be in charge of eating, drinking, traveling, and staying, and we will be in charge of everything discussed with His Majesty. Prince Knight was on guard. They were sent by that woman, what was in charge of food and lodging. They wanted to monitor him. Thinking so, he pulled his younger brother away and refused. Sorry, we won't go to the consulate, the girl persisted in persuading him. Are you two still angry because of Lord Deesa's insult? It's okay. If you want to change your mind, you can come to us at any time. Nemo asked in confusion, Big brother, why don't we go? Prince Knight shouted, don't you see it yet? This is Lu Feng's scheme. Let's quickly contact the scribe Torola. Send the letter first, then pretend to enter later, wait for the emperor to send someone, secretly take revenge, then return to the country. Prince Nemo heard this and raised his thumb in admiration. Brother, this is a good method, you are really amazing. At this moment, in the sky, a spaceship flew over, from which countless pieces of paper with new information were distributed. Deesa's voice rang out, reporting urgently to Chang'an City at night. His Majesty issued a new policy, recruiting people without household registration from outside to come here, providing food and accommodation. 5 days later, Han Dynasty established a border management policy, launched an all-out crackdown on illegal border crossers, and implemented passport and visa management for entry and exit. Prince Nemo excitedly expressed, can there still be such a message? So cool. Prince Knight asked again, what did she just say? He picked up the newspaper, after reading it couldn't help but grit his teeth, first told the security agency to deal with us, then sent the consulate to pretend to be soft. Now it's good, the border management policy has just been implemented. Our plan of revenge was ruined. Prince Nemo was shocked when he heard that and asked, what should we do? His brother angrily replied, what else can we do? The Tao is 1 foot high, the devil is 1 zhan high. Of course we are. Prince Knight's expression changed, he ran over and waved to the consulate employee, wait, we'll follow you to the consulate. His younger brother saw this and asked softly, big brother, we said and then went back on our word, don't we need face? His older brother immediately turned around and cursed under his breath, face is nothing, a great man can stretch and bend. As the sky darkened, inside the embassy, Prince Nemo exclaimed with delight, is this everyone's consulate, so magnificent? Prince Knight thought to himself, so gallant, he must want to make me fall in love. Prince Nemo looked at this and that and asked, what is that glowing thing above our heads? It is not the same as the light I saw before, the employee explained, it is a glass lamp. It was powered by electricity, a special lamp made by the Han Dynasty. Princess Jill of the Larsen Empire also praised it endlessly. Hearing this, Prince Knight was secretly surprised, Princess Jill was also here. He secretly calculated, Larsen was also harmed by Lu Feng, Princess Jill must hate Lu Feng like him, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, moreover the relationship between Larsen and Torola is not bad, I can form an alliance with Princess Jill, and together deal with Lu Feng in the future. The girl continued to introduce, our consulate has undergone construction, added hot spring baths, bars, massage, swimming areas, hope you two can have fun while waiting for His Majesty. The excited Prince Knight asked again, what did you say? Wine, you also have a tavern. The girl replied, yes, the wine is all free, we also have a special bartender who can make unique wines for you too. Hearing this, Prince Knight couldn't help but drool and sigh, so sinister, Lu Feng must know that we like wine, and wants to use wine to charm us. But. After a while, Prince Knight drank who knows how many jars of wine. He said, it was delicious, smooth in the mouth, refreshing down the mouth, and had a fragrant aroma of barley. Is this a wine brewing technique bestowed by the gods? What have I drunk before? Prince Nemo asked worriedly, big brother, did I drink a little too much? Big brother, do we still have news? His brother put the next bottle of wine on the table and asked vaguely, news, what news, can we drink it? Nemo reminded. Big brother, do we need to go see Princess Jill? The now slightly drunk Prince Knight burped and mumbled, see you, I must see you, wait until I finish this cup. The next day, in the living room of the city lord's mansion, Lu Feng picked up the passport and admired it. The passport was not bad, keep doing it like this in the future. Ellie replied, okay, today I will ask someone to bring a sample to the printing place. At this moment, Dees came in from outside the door and announced, young master, I met someone outside the door. You absolutely have no idea who it is. Lu Feng tried to guess, whether it was Lelisa or Jiao returning, or a prince or princess from another country. Dees said, he was only half right. At this time, from outside the door, a figure came in to greet, His Majesty Lu Feng, Tony Sally of the Ali Empire asks for you. Your Majesty, may I be well? Looking at the figure that entered, Lu Feng immediately guessed that she was Yuffie's mother. In the city lord's mansion, Tony Sally sat on the sofa and told the story sincerely. When Yuffie and Eli came to find me, I was overseas recuperating with the sick family head, missing everyone. After returning from overseas, I learned about this and immediately went to Chang'an City. Speaking of which, I was able to leave Ali country smoothly, all thanks to your Majesty. The people of the Tony family feared your power and did not dare to stop me. Nicole heard the story and sighed, it was too difficult. Nina said, she is different from the noble woman in my imagination. Ellie expressed, being able to be brave enough to be with Uncle Eli, giving birth to Yuffie at a young age, and later decisively letting Uncle Eli take Yuffie away, no matter how you look at it, she is not like an ordinary woman. Tony Sally continued, I heard that they were in the science and technology department. I wanted to come in to find someone, but I was stopped. I thought Lee would probably come in here to report on work. Lian came to seek luck, unexpectedly met this kind young lady, brought me here. Dees happily replied, Madam, don't be polite, I'm Yuffie's good friend, just call me Dees. Lufeng politely said, don't be so formal, just sit here for a while, I will immediately send someone to invite Lee and Yuffie here. Nicole brought tea and invited them. Madam, have some tea and water. She immediately thanked them. Mina sat next to Lufeng and said, let me call Yuffie and Uncle Lee, it will be faster for me to go. Lufeng nodded, okay, when we get back, tell the driver to take you guys. Madame Sally Tony looked at Lufeng and secretly evaluated him. He was really young, very different from the Han Dynasty emperor in her imagination. From Ali country to Chang'an City, I saw amazing spaceships, terrifying big ships, clean and tidy cities and happy people living on this land. I thought that the emperor who could overthrow Yinglu and build such a powerful empire must be a middle-aged monarch who had experienced life, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. Who could have imagined that this pampered young master, like this young master, would be the master of a country? Yuffie, Lee, there must be something special about him that attracted the two of you to stay here, right? A moment later, Uncle Lee and Yuffie came over. As soon as they entered, Uncle Lee called out, Sally. Hearing that, Mrs. Sally also turned around and replied. Yuffie looked at her and thought to herself, it really is mother. Uncle Lee pushed Yuffie up and reminded her, this child, before he missed his mother so much, now seeing her, what are you standing there for? Yuffie happily threw herself into her mother's arms at this moment, tears of happiness flowing from the corners of her eyes as she called out, Mom. Madame Sally hugged her and comforted her. Mom's little Yuffie has grown so big. Uncle Lee was moved and raised his hand to wipe away her tears and comfort her, don't cry, be careful not to ruin your eyes. Madame Sally took Yuffie's hand and said, you've had a hard time these past few years, I've always missed you. Yuffie replied, I'm not suffering, Mom. I thought I'd never see you again. Seeing this scene, Nicole also couldn't help but think of her family. She also thought of her eldest brother and second brother. Are they in danger? Dee said, I miss my sister a little. Lufeng smiled and said, wait until she's done being busy, then you come over, or she can come over here, it's not a big deal. Dee was surprised when she heard that and asked, really, that's great. Uncle Lee bowed to Lufeng and said gratefully, thanks to the young master, we are reunited as a family. I will definitely work hard and devote myself to the young master. Lufeng waved his hand and replied humbly, Uncle Lee, don't make a fuss. You are now the treasurer of the Science and Technology Department. If you are too tired because of me, the workers below will definitely protest to me. I can't handle it. Uncle Lee heard that and laughed. The young master was joking, how dare they? Yuffie also winked and said, not joking, father often teaches them recently. Who wouldn't dare to listen to father? I think the young master is right. Seeing the two of them so relaxed, Madame Sally couldn't help but think. His Majesty Lufeng can really let go of his imposing manner and treat his servants with respect. I've never seen an emperor so friendly to the workers. At this time, the nanny appeared from the door and announced, young master, dinner is ready, you can eat now. Madame Sally lifted her skirt and bowed slightly, saying, if your majesty wants to eat, then we will go first. Lufeng smiled politely and said, I have already said, madam, there is no need for formalities. Everyone, don't go. What's so interesting about me eating dinner alone? Of course I have to eat with everyone. Madame Sally was surprised, this matter was a bit inappropriate. Uncle Lee laughed and reassured, nothing was wrong, the young master often ate with us. Mrs. Sally immediately touched his hand and said, after all, he is the emperor. Lee, you don't know your limits. How can you often eat with the monarch? Uncle Lee explained, don't worry, the young master has always been this good. Second, the young master is our future son-in-law, there is nothing to be shy about. Hearing this, Madame Sally couldn't help but be surprised. She raised her hand to cover her mouth and exclaimed, this, how can that be? Dwarves and humans have never intermarried. Besides, he is the emperor, we are workers, Uncle Lee calmly replied. When you came, didn't you see that in Chang'an City, beastmen, humans and dwarves live together peacefully and equally? There is absolutely no racial discrimination here. What about workers? The young master is not that kind of person. Moreover, most importantly, Yuffie likes him. At this moment, Madame Sally quickly walked forward, her face full of worry as she said, I understand your mood of wanting to find a good husband for Yuffie. Judging from the Han Dynasty's national power and circumstances, Lufeng is indeed a rare good emperor, but that doesn't mean he is a good husband. A moment later, everyone gathered around the dining table. Yuffie asked curiously, Mom, why don't you sit with Dad? Sally replied. It's more convenient that way. In another corner, Ellie suggested while eating, I want to eat potatoes. Mina sat next to her and immediately gave her some. Lufeng smiled and introduced, this is the steak that the kitchen made, after cutting it, it will be easier to eat. Madam may not be used to using knives and forks, I will help you cut it first. Madame Sally outside smiled back, yes, thank you, your majesty. She looked at him and thought to herself, he really knows how to take care of women. Lu Feng wondered in his heart, strange, why is Madame Sally's attitude towards him a bit strange? After cutting the meat, Lu Feng handed the steak to her. Here, please enjoy it, Madame Sally. At this moment, he suddenly looked at Yuffie, saw her hand was red. He immediately asked, Yuffie, what's wrong? Your hand is injured. Yuffie rubbed the red spot and explained, when I heard my mother coming, I was removing the equipment, accidentally smashed them. It's okay, I can cut it myself. Lu Feng stood up and said, no. He walked to where she was sitting, cut the beef for her, then winked and advised her that she had to take good care of her injury, otherwise it would get worse. Madame Sally sat to the side and couldn't hide her surprise. Neither she nor Li noticed Yuffie's injured hand. He did notice, he was really meticulous and attentive. Moreover, the two of them got along so naturally, without any class or distance between monarch and subject. Forget it, Yuffie rarely likes him. Lu Feng's character isn't bad either. Thinking about it, she leaned closer to her daughter and asked, Yuffie, have you done it yet? How is the progress of the two of you? Yuffie is drinking a soft drink. Hearing her ask, it was confusing. What did you do? Madame Sally held her daughter's hand and said bluntly, Your Majesty, I can pass on some secrets to you so you can quickly knock him down. After all, it was I who took the initiative to have you that year. Between men and women, the girl taking the initiative is not a bad thing. You absolutely must not be stubborn and miss out on happiness. Yuffie blushed and stuttered. What do you mean by quickly? Don't talk nonsense. Her mother continued to cheer her on, pushing her away. Don't you want to? Just imagine, the moon is clear, the wind is cool. Imagination started to run wild. Yuffie pushed Lu Feng on the bed and said, Young master, don't move. Lu Feng turned the guest into the host, turned Yuffie around and said, Don't move. She then shouted, Let go, I want to be on top. Thinking of this, Yuffie directly spat out the water she had just drunk, coughing and shouting, Mom, don't say anymore. Ellie sat next to her and saw that and asked, Is Yuffie okay? Nicole said, If you want a drink, I'll pour you more. Don't rush. Yuffie waved her hand awkwardly and replied, I'm fine. Lu Feng suddenly asked, What is up there? Yuffie was so embarrassed that she didn't dare to raise her head and think, how could she even say this? Then she hurriedly made an excuse, No, I mean, thinking about that spaceship, can you put something on it? That's right, that's it. Lu Feng also returned to his seat now. He was concerned and she said, Like that, when eating, don't think about work, look at you, you're choking. Madame Sally asked, Your Majesty, I have a favor to ask of you. I want to catch up with Li tonight. Yuffie is not convenient to stay with us. Can you help us take care of Yuffie for one night? Yuffie was so scared that her face turned red when she heard her say that. Night fell. In the castle, Yuffie in a white dress stood in front of the mirror, blushing, thinking. When the young master agreed to Mother's request, I thought the young master understood Mother's meaning. But now he brought me to the room opposite his. But if he didn't understand, there was originally a room in the castle, why did he bring me here, and this outfit? Yuffie recalled that when she was with her mother, Madame Sally gave her a bag of instructions. Yuffie, this is the battle outfit that Mother prepared for you. She originally wanted to wait until you got married to give it to you. But today is a good opportunity, so she has to hold on tight. Yuffie saw this and quickly waved her hand to refuse. Battle outfit, Mother, I can't take it, she thought to herself, it must be that kind of messy clothes. But Mrs. Sally still persisted in stuffing the bag into her hand and said, This is my thought, you don't need it. But, in his eyes, I will always be little Yuffie, am I willing to accept it, even if I don't do anything? At least let him know that I've grown up, breasts are breasts, legs are legs, our Yuffie is a woman, right? Back to the present, Yuffie silently raised her hand in determination. Mother was right, at least let the young master know, I'm an adult. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Lu Feng called out, Yuffie, aren't you done yet? You've been in there for more than an hour. Surely you haven't fainted from soaking, right? Yuffie inside heard this and replied in panic, No, I'll be right out. A few seconds later, she opened the door and walked out, calling out in a low voice, Young master. Lu Feng raised his head to look, and he couldn't help but be surprised. He couldn't help but notice that Yuffie was also very dignified, and Yuffie felt embarrassed, thinking that the young master's eyes were always on her, so embarrassing. Lu Feng approached her and asked, Why are you blushing? Oh, I know. Yuffie panicked and stepped back, stammering, No, not the young master, me. He immediately reassured her, It's okay, don't move. Lu Feng reached out to her. Yuffie secretly hoped in her heart, Mother's method was effective, the young master wanted it. What to do? I'm so stressed, should I close my eyes and it will be better? Lu Feng reached out and turned on the switch, and the ceiling fan immediately spun vigorously. He spread his arms and enjoyed it while saying, You've been in there for too long, making yourself so hot, just right, let's try the ceiling fan we just invented. It's very cool, how is it? Is it better? If we can let everyone use it, that would be great. Yuffie, I'll double the budget for the black oil generator project. With your ability, you will definitely research the second generation generator very soon. Yuffie opened her mouth wide and thought. I'm dressed like this, and the young master is discussing the generator with me. The young master doesn't see me as a woman at all. Not wanting to hold back any longer, Yuffie stepped forward, grabbed Lu Feng's hand, and pressed him against the wall in a legendary pose as she asked. Young master, is it time to discuss the black oil generator? Lu Feng was a little stunned at this moment. Yuffie didn't let him say more. She stood on tiptoe, her face held high, her lips slightly pursed forward. Finally, her lips reached his chin, both of them now looking at each other with wide eyes. Yuffie finally realized her rash action. She blushed and exclaimed, "How embarrassing. I see that you are so short, and you only kissed my chin. I should quickly leave." "What kind of terrible idea did Mom have?" Lu Feng asked. "So, you wanted to tell me?" Yuffie awkwardly interrupted. "Young master, I'm sorry." Before she could finish speaking, Lu Feng hugged her. The boy lifted her up, then closed his eyes and kissed her lips. Yuffie stared in amazement. Young master, her face was getting redder and redder. Lu Feng grabbed her hand. They both fell onto the bed. And then, what was to come happened. It was a passionate night. The next day, in the painting class, Jenny stood and lectured. In painting techniques, the color matching method can be used directly, just like that. First, sketch the outline of the object on paper. Then, based on the feeling of the object's tone or the texture of the painting's color, start to mix the colors. This way of drawing requires using quite dark paint. The strokes will also be clearer. Princess Jill stood outside the window and looked in, exclaiming, "Jenny is really a teacher. I have never heard of what she teaches before. This class is so big. More than 10 people. I've only ever had one-on-one lessons with a teacher before." Lelisa, look quickly. The white sculpture on the pedestal is so special. Their stand is also different from mine. Lelisa leaned against the wall and replied. This, perhaps, is the painting method that His Majesty Lu Feng passed down. The same goes for sculpture. Jenny was still teaching. Next was free time. Everyone could draw from the previous paintings. Or they could practice still life. Princess Jill expressed. Jenny was so confident now. Before, when she was at Larson, she rarely had such a radiant aura. She remembered when she was little. Jenny told her while crying. "Just because I am an illegitimate child. That is why everyone does not like me. Want to tear up my paintings. But why is even the Emperor so cold to me? Am I not someone else's child?" Princess Jill advised at that time. "Jenny, you are the Emperor's child. Of course the Emperor likes you. Who bullied you? Tell Jill. I will help you teach her a lesson." Princess Jill looked at Jenny with pride. In her memory, she was the little sister who always needed her protection. Unexpectedly, after only a few months of not seeing each other, she was so different. Perhaps, she really found what she wanted. Suddenly, Jenny looked out the door. She ran to the classroom door. Jill waved her hand. "Don't come here, don't interrupt my teaching." Jenny didn't care. She ran to hug her sister and asked, "Why are you here? I missed you so much." Princess Jill scolded. "I told you not to come out here." Jenny immediately reassured her. "It's okay, they can practice freely now. They don't need me." The two of them hadn't seen each other for a long time. There were many things to talk about. But Jill still reminded them. Lelisa had been staying with her sister recently, and was so tired that she fell asleep. "Let's keep our voices down." Jenny also agreed and suggested. "Then let's go somewhere else for a walk. Let Lelisa rest here for a while." The two of them walked and talked. "Before, I was worried that you might be in danger. Now it seems like I was thinking too much. You look very good," Jenny confided. "Thanks to His Majesty Lu Feng, I found my place here. I am living happily. His Majesty Lu Feng not only taught me a lot of new knowledge about painting. He also gave me the opportunity to become a teacher. This painting school is a public art gallery that he built. There is no fee. Anyone who wants to learn painting can come and register. The students here are mostly ordinary people. I have learned a lot from them. I used to be confused. Will anyone like me? Too narrow-minded. There are more important things in this world. Like dreams. But these are not the main points. His Majesty wants to expand this art gallery throughout the country. Furthermore, many other training courses will be established. His Majesty said he wants everyone to have a certain skill. Try to live the life you want. I have never seen an emperor like His Majesty. He not only cares about the big picture. He is multi-talented. He also thinks from the perspective of the people. He truly has the world in his heart. Hearing her talk about Luong all the time, Princess Jill got a little angry and said, "Shut up, don't talk about him anymore." She thought angrily. Jenny always talked about herself before. Where did the rotten emperor come from to steal her position? Jenny was a little startled when she heard her tone. Jill blushed and pouted. "Jenny, in front of you from now on, you can only talk about you, don't mention anyone else." She also held grudges. "Luong, no matter how powerful you are, you dare to lure my Jenny away. You are the bad guy. Just wait. I, Princess Jill, will definitely meet you." Evening, at Lingu City, Yadian. Deacon Hong looked at Queen Field, who was leaning her head back tiredly and sleeping, and thought to herself. Since her accession to the throne, His Majesty's mind has been on state affairs. He no longer leads troops to battle. I thought that this would allow His Majesty to relax a bit. Who would have thought that he would be so dedicated to everything? In contrast, he still only sleeps 23 hours a day. It's dinner time now. His Majesty is about to fall asleep again. Should I wake her up? In the end, she decided to approach and call out. "Your Majesty, you should still eat. The government affairs will never be finished." Field asked. "Didn't they just send in a lot of intelligence? Tell them to report it. I'll watch it while I eat. The front line needs me. I can't stay in Lingu City for too long. So before that, I have to quickly resolve the government affairs. Implement the basic governance plans. As for rest, I have my own plans. Go." Deacon Hong couldn't persuade me and had to obey. She opened the report book. Black Deacon had successfully captured Inglu City. But because of the rainy season, his army had lost more than 1,000 knights. Food supplies were also consumed a lot. They could not continue moving forward. Black Deacon asked for your instructions. He wanted to temporarily station his troops in Inglu City. Hearing this, Queen Field immediately approved. "Okay. Tell them to camp in Inglu City. Attract the knights. Collect provisions. I remember Inglu is Timothy's territory. Black Deacon and Timothy have already met." Deacon Hong replied. "No, since we caught him off guard, Timothy has never appeared before anyone. Her army has always been searching for a strategy." "Your Majesty. Is it possible that we scared her?" Queen Field warned cautiously. "Impossible. Timothy was not that kind of person. She was so quiet. She must be planning something. We must add Black Iris. Once she made a move, we must report it immediately." Red accepted the order. She continued to flip through the notes behind the notice. Next, from the Fabro Empire. It was a letter from His Majesty Chandra. "Your Majesty. Is there a rhyme you want to read?" Field ordered. "Read it directly." Deacon Hong immediately read it out loud. His Majesty Chandra knew that the people trapped in the Mermaid Sea could not reach the shore. He was extremely angry. He allowed the first Prince Eddie to recruit knights. He personally went to that continent. According to the date of this message, the first Prince Eddie would be arriving soon. After hearing that, Queen Field couldn't help but frown. Eddie was the eldest son of the Emperor's father. His abilities were no less than hers. He was the next legitimate heir to the empire. The Emperor sent him. He clearly didn't trust her. Seeing her silence, Deacon Hong couldn't help but feel worried. His Majesty had always wanted Emperor Chandra's recognition. Now King Chandra had sent the eldest Prince Eddie. His Majesty didn't know how heartbroken he was. Thinking about it, she spoke up to comfort him. "Your Majesty, the distance between the two continents is very far. King Chandra does not know the situation. He is worried that fighting alone is not as good as the enemy. That is why he sent the first Prince Eddie to help." Queen Field frowned and spoke. "All right, Deacon Hong. I am no longer a child who feels hurt because of the Emperor's favoritism. Even if the first prince comes, so what? I am destined to be king. Even he can only bow his head and pay homage to me." Seeing her think so, Deacon Hong felt relieved. She continued to read the intelligence and said, "Your Majesty, there is good news. The medicinal herbs purchased from Chang'an City have been distributed. The treatment effect is very good. Do you want to go and see?" Field said in surprise. "Oh, very good." A moment later, at Lingu City, Yadian Military Hospital. Field and Deacon Hong came to see the situation. The soldier next to him reported. Most of the knights were injured. They used medicine for 2 days. They felt better after a night's sleep. It was more effective than the witch doctor's blood draw. Field praised her after hearing that. Good job. Everyone in the room cheered when they saw her. Thanks to His Majesty's new medicine, we can get well again. It's His Majesty who came to visit us. If my brothers could also take the new medicine, they wouldn't have bled to death. The three of them passed by the shaman in the corner. He covered his face with a large leaf and muttered to himself, "Don't look at me." Field opened his mouth and asked someone, "Knight, are you okay? How do you feel after taking the new medicine?" The knight raised his hand and tapped his muscles proudly. "Your Majesty. The doctor said I would definitely die. But after I took the new medicine, I returned from the underworld. Now I can fight 10 against 1. I can help your Majesty." He was happy and exclaimed in his heart. So close, this was the first time he was so close to His Majesty. Moreover, His Majesty was also caring about him. Field finished listening and turned to ask the others. "How about everyone?" Everyone immediately answered. "I broke my leg, it's almost gone now. I had diarrhea, I had no strength to walk. After taking medicine, it stopped, me too. I had a fever for a long time, after taking medicine. It went away very quickly. I had typhoid, it's also gone." Queen Field heard and reminded. If that's the case, everyone continue to heal their wounds. There's no need to rush about battlefield matters. The knights gratefully obeyed. "Yes, thank you, Your Majesty. Your Majesty is not as cold as the rumors say. Your Majesty is really good. I will do my best for Your Majesty in the future." Seeing the Queen now, Deacon Hong couldn't help but shed tears of joy, thinking to himself, "That's great, Your Majesty is much happier." At this moment, Field walked to the witch doctor and ordered, "You, follow me." The witch doctor was startled when he heard that and replied, "Yes," he thought, his heart was filled with cold sweat. "Oh no, His Majesty must be because of the way I took blood before. He wants to find me to settle the score." After going outside, Queen Field crossed her arms in front of her chest. Looking at the shaman who was trembling and kneeling on the ground, she asked, "Shaman, you have treated many people to death before. Do you have any calculations in your heart?" Shaman, his face paled as he begged, "Your Majesty, please spare my life. Everyone treated me like this. My teacher also taught me like this. I didn't do it on purpose." Hearing this, Field immediately gave an order. "All right, I'll give you a chance to redeem yourself. No matter what, research a new medicine. Create a similar medicine." The witch doctor stammered and explained, "Your Majesty, that new medicine is very different from what we've used before. Moreover, it seems to have gone through many stages of increasing its purity. We don't have the corresponding equipment. It can't be done." Queen Field raised her voice and made a condition. "Then trade your life for your life." The other guy immediately changed his mind. "Your Majesty, I will research it immediately. I will definitely research it." Only then did Field let him go. She sighed and commented, "A gutsy person like a mouse. Hard to employ." The soldier beside her shrugged and asked, "Your Majesty, why do we have to research these things? Can't we just buy them directly?" Field frowned and explained, "We are always fighting. It will waste a lot of medicine. Buying it directly is too expensive. More importantly, after Luong finds out that the direction of the medicine is not good, he might stop exporting medicine. I absolutely cannot let the lives of my army be in the hands of others." The next day, Shannan City Lord Luong pointed and said, "He will not stop exporting medicinal products." Ellie could not help but wonder. Not stopping exporting? But recently, the number of external purchases has increased. Although they come from surrounding countries. At first glance, there is no problem. But the amount of exported medicinal materials is really too much. We cannot help but be cautious. Nicole put the cup of water on the table as a reminder. Talking about this so early in the morning. Be careful not to digest it. Mina sighed. The two of them talked about work every time. They couldn't stop. Flay and Dees were concentrating on eating. Flay picked up the food on the table and exclaimed, "Ouch, it's too hot." Dees told her, "You can't eat soup dumplings like that. Take a bite first, then suck it out." Monica also remembered something recently. She said, there was a pharmacy across from the dance class. There were really a lot of people coming in recently. The line at the checkout was long. Some medicines are out of stock. One day a man came to buy cold medicine 666. But the store said it was out of stock. Dees, who was eating, agreed. During this period of time, I also caught quite a few people selling drugs on the street at high prices. The increase in the amount of drugs was also due to this group of people. Those people are really hateful. Ellie frowned and seriously explained the situation, just like they said. Foreign trade disrupted the market, causing the price of medicines to increase. Not only that. From the statistics of exported medicines, in addition to the medicines commonly used in summer, the exported medicines also included bandages and hemostatic medicines. Obviously, they were medicines for the battlefield. Young master, the person who uses these drugs is most likely our enemy. Luong didn't know how to refute when he heard her say that. He expressed. Overall, you are right. Ellie suggested. Therefore, young master must take this matter seriously. I suggest cutting it off with one slash, directly stopping the export of medicinal products. Being kind to the enemy is being cruel to yourself. Luong picked up the glass of water and drank it, sighing softly in his heart, thinking, because Ellie stood in the ruling position of a powerful country, and he was after all a modern person. Although he sent troops to support Timothy, he was still against war in his heart, and did not want to use large-scale rifle weapons. He also did not want to stop the export of pharmaceuticals. It seemed that it was time to start the show. Thinking about it, Luong raised his handkerchief to wipe his mouth and gave his opinion. Ellie, you're right, being kind to the enemy is being cruel to your own people. It seems that we will not only cut off all exports of pharmaceuticals with one blow, but also bring newly researched weapons to the battlefield, rifles, grenades. There are also new tanks. I believe that with the strength of the factory and the technical department, we can definitely produce those things in large quantities and continuously bring them to the battlefield. Alright, you can use poison, combining grenades and poison, without wasting a single soldier, you will be able to capture any stronghold. By then, the entire continent will be in our possession, expanding our territory will bring in more resources, and the standard of living of everyone will also be raised. That is the most benevolent way to treat our people. However, those who have lost their country and homes will lose their friends, their loved ones, and even their lives. Bioweapons will cause cities to fall into ruin. Those who are lucky enough to survive will be tortured by disease. Humanity, righteousness, and morality will all turn to dust. Those who have lost their country and homes can only live like wild animals, killing each other, trying their best to survive. But it's okay, suffering is not the Han Dynasty's people. We are the ones who benefit, we are the hegemon. Built on the corpses of billions, we will become the eternal king. Flay looked at his face and couldn't help but feel scared. The little girl hugged Dees and cried out. Young master is so scary. Young master seems to have changed. Nicole also bowed her head and expressed thoughtfully after hearing that. War is really scary. Only Nina calmly said. Young master, don't scare them. Luong returned to his normal face, smiling and scratching his head, he asked. Okay, how was your performance just now? Was it similar? Did you scare everyone? Ellie, what about you? Ellie bowed her head and called. Young master. Then she suddenly burst into tears. She hugged Luong and regretted saying that she was stubborn and sorry. Young master, what is this about being kind and cruel? For ordinary people, peace is the most important thing. Luong gently stroked her head to comfort her. Ellie, I know you are thinking about the Han Dynasty, but power is like a wild beast. Once it is out of its cage, it is not possible to imagine anything. The same goes for the production of medicines and the export of goods. It cannot be abused. I do not want to stop the export of medicines. One is that most of the medicines will be sent to ordinary people. 2, even if they are enemies, they are just ordinary people. There is no need to cut off their chances of survival. 3, the medicine is very easy to counterfeit. After all, the ingredients are written on the box, how do you know that there are no skilled people outside who make it? Of course, most importantly, he was confident in the military strength of our Han Dynasty. Even if the enemy had medicine, they would still be no match for us. Hearing this, Ellie asked, then we only regulate domestic drug trading. Luong nodded and said, yes, for now the domestic market must be clear. The important task is for drugstores to limit purchases, so that the trading of merchants does not affect the lives of ordinary people. Then we can let pharmaceutical factories directly contact foreign trade. Carry out large-scale trading. Nina sighed and thought, with the young master's ability, he could clearly expand his territory and manipulate people's hearts. But he hated that. Even if he was an enemy, he was willing to give them a way to live. A young master like this was indeed a bit soft-hearted like a woman. But that's why it's worth following. Young master, Nina will definitely try even harder to protect you. The evening light shines on the wall of the city lord's mansion. Inside the study, Dees reported the situation to Luong. The underground safe room has been linked together, through the drainage pipes that have been built, the people of the safety department will be stationed here. Ellie asked. This room will contain confidential information of the management department. Is it safe to put it here? Yuffie explained. This place is very difficult to find. Moreover, it is right at the entrance. The young master and I have designed some mechanisms, so there will be no problem. Hearing that, Ellie also happily said with peace of mind. Then I have no more comments. Lu Feng rolled up the blueprint and put it away. Okay, that's all. Dee stretched. Finally understood. Today was busy with going back and forth, patrolling, moving things, and then running back to the meeting. I'm exhausted. Yuffie asked. Then let's go back to the scientific research department. Lu Feng put the paper on the bookshelf and reminded everyone. Today's work is not over yet. A mysterious guest will come here around 6 o'clock. Dee and Ellie couldn't help but ask in surprise. Who? Just then, the door opened. Nicole announced cheerfully. Young Master, Princess Jill and Lelisa of the Larson Empire have arrived. Would you like to meet them now? Lu Feng walked towards the door and said. Okay, we'll go there now. Ellie quietly followed behind and thought to herself. Strange. Most foreign guests go through the procedures at the consulate and they can only meet the young master 2 to 3 days after arriving in Chang'an City. Didn't Princess Jill just arrive in Chang'an City yesterday? Why is she here today? Could it be that the young master intends to marry into the Larson Empire? Is this Princess Jill the future queen? Outside, Princess Jill was enjoying her milk tea. Her eyes were red with delight. The taste was really special. The scent of tea mixed with the scent of milk. Not too sweet. The round thing inside was chewy and delicious. Jenny sat next to Lelisa and wondered. Lelisa, I heard that after Jill's sister went to the consulate last night, she asked to see the young master from the diplomat who received her. Why was Jill so eager to see the young master? I asked her but she didn't say anything. Do you know anything? Lelisa shook her head and replied. I don't know either. Princess Jill smiled contentedly and thought. Why? Of course, in order to defeat the guy who stole my sister's heart, I want to defeat him in the business field. In order for Jenny to continue being my good sister, in her heart she was thinking about the scene of Lu Feng kneeling down and willing to do everything for her to show her how formidable she was. At this moment, Lu Feng appeared and interrupted. I'm so sorry. I should have come earlier, I've kept you all waiting. Seeing him, Princess Jill blushed and replied, It's okay, it's because I came early. She secretly exclaimed, Oh my god, the Emperor of the Han Dynasty, how could he be so young and handsome? Calm down, don't forget your purpose. Princess Jill lifted her skirt and bowed, Hello, Your Majesty Lu Feng, I am Princess Jill of the Larson Empire. The purpose of this trip is to establish cooperation between your country and Larson. I hope we can cooperate happily, Lu Feng smiled and replied, Princess, there is no need to be so polite. I am honored to personally welcome you all. Ellie, who was walking behind, heard this and sighed in relief. The two of them were probably not here to get married. Princess Jill was now bleeding from the nose, her face was dazed and she thought to herself. Up close, he looked even more handsome, his voice was also nice. Seeing her like that, he did not react. The people here called out, Jill, Princess Jill, older sister. She was startled and reacted, quickly raising her hand to cover her bleeding nose and blushing. With her other hand, she handed Lu Feng a small book and said, I'm fine. I think we have a lot to talk about. So we made a list of the types of goods and the number of transactions. After giving it to her, the princess couldn't help but think smugly. Scared? I've already prepared everything. Lu Feng thought she was nervous so he immediately reassured her. Don't worry. Han Dynasty has a wide variety of products. Princess can take a walk in Chang'an City to learn more about it. It's time to eat. I wonder if I have the honor of inviting Princess Jill to join me for dinner. Jill was speechless after hearing that. Hey, so it's over. Why do I feel so powerless? Wait, let's go eat. A moment later in the dining room, on the table, many attractive dishes were just cooked and placed on the table. Princess Jill looked on with delight and exclaimed. I heard that everything in the Han Dynasty is very delicious. Not to mention the sumptuous banquet, she is someone who is easily conquered by food. She concluded in her heart. This Lu Feng is too sinister. I have decided to let Jenny's matter go. Just smelling it makes my index finger move. But I am a princess, on duty, so I have to be careful and cautious at the international banquet, as if understanding her thoughts. Lu Feng said, This is not a serious banquet. Princess Jill does not need to restrain herself. Eat as much as you want. Hearing that, Princess Jill could no longer hold back and replied. Then I won't be polite anymore. Lu Feng was about to make a suggestion. Lobster shells are very hard. Do you want me to peel them off for you? Before he could finish speaking, a scene like a storm flashed by. In a flash, the lobster was neatly peeled on the plate. The shell was clear and the meat was clear. Luong looked on in admiration. He didn't expect Princess Jill to be such a connoisseur of lobsters. Ellie was also surprised. This technique of peeling the lobster. Jenny beside her quickly explained. Sister Jill loves to eat and was very good at handling any delicious dish. Princess Jill exclaimed as she ate. It was delicious. Dees, who was nearby, also ate it with relish. She urged. Stop talking. I'm starving. Hurry up and eat. After finishing her meal, Princess Jill used a napkin to wipe her mouth. Then, she turned to Luong and said, Your Majesty Luong. The food of the Han Dynasty is so delicious. You are truly a wise ruler. Luong replied somewhat helplessly. It doesn't really matter. At this moment, Nicole brought up a tray of pizza and said, Princess Jill, I heard Lelisa say that you wanted pizza, so I made it like Haiyan City's flavor. This is the pizza I made for you. Jill looked at the pizza and couldn't help but ask, Are you the #1 pizza chef in the world? Not waiting for Nicole to reply, Jill picked up the pizza and took a bite, moved to tears. Oh my, is this food given by God? If I could eat this for the rest of my life, I would be satisfied. After Princess Jill finished eating, she hugged Nicole and said, Little sister, can you come home with me? I can ask my father to make you a count. Nicole was hugged unexpectedly and blushed. Princess, don't be like this. Jenny saw her sister getting too excited and reminded her, Sister, calm down. Luong turned to ask. Lelisa, have you finished your meal? Can you come with me? Lelisa nodded. Okay? Your Majesty. The two then left, in the city lord's mansion. Luong asked, How do you feel about this tour? Lelisa commented that the spending power of Larson's aristocrats is getting better and better. When they see something they like, they will not hesitate to buy a lot. For example, some people have bought 100 bottles of perfume. After that, we have to apply the method of limited purchase. Of course, those items are also very popular with ordinary people. Luong laughed after hearing that. In fact, Larson could be so smooth. It was all because of Lelisa, right? If you don't mind, I think. Lelisa frowned and thought. The young master finally couldn't hold it in anymore. He wanted to test me again. At this moment, Luong handed her a stack of application papers. In addition to your role as captain of the archery team, can you apply for a part-time job as the head of commerce in the Larson Empire? This contract stipulates your rights, duties, and salary in charge. You can review it and think about it. Of course, you can also refuse. Lelisa was a little surprised but quickly took the contract and asked. I don't have to think about it. I will take this position. I just want to ask, except for Larson, does the young master have plans to trade with all countries? What is your plan? Luong winked and replied. Increase the price. My plan is to increase the prices of all items by 10%, but judging from the response from the trade this time, a 20% increase is not impossible. Of course, this is just my rough ideal. As for the specific plan, we need to plan it out in detail. Lelisa asked a little worriedly. I remember that these goods are always bought frequently by merchants. Suddenly increasing the prices like this. Will it be okay? Luong picked up the teapot and poured some tea into a cup before explaining. Not sure. Who would want less money in their pocket? But currently, several major countries urgently need goods from Chang'an City. Even if the market price increases, it won't affect them much. Moreover, their initial profits are very high. As soon as there is a decent profit, the capital becomes insignificant. If there is a 10% profit, then it is guaranteed to be used everywhere. If there is a 20% profit, then it operates. If there is a 50% profit, then it accepts the risk in a chain. If there is a 100% profit, then it dares to trample on the entire legal world. With a 300% profit, it dares to commit any crime, even risking its life. Lelisa was surprised after hearing that. Luong quickly said, Don't misunderstand me, this sentence was said by a great man, I'm just quoting it. It really wasn't my idea, Lelisa expressed. Your Majesty doesn't need to be humble. It's natural for someone to be so perceptive and insightful. I understand that Your Majesty doesn't want to be arrogant. Really? Luong didn't want to explain much. He continued asking. Forget it. Let's talk about something else. Can you accompany Princess Jill more this time? Lelisa replied. That's natural. But why did His Majesty specifically remind me? Luong explained seriously. On the one hand, it is the need of business, it is best if you and her are more familiar with each other. On the other hand, the upcoming storm may destroy buildings, uproot trees, and even kill thousands of people. Outside, the golden light of the setting sun covered the entire city. In some places in the sky, white feathers appeared, like birds flying. The two were engrossed in conversation. It was already dark outside. Lalisa couldn't help but wonder when Luong mentioned storms. Storms. He meant the god Lakhar storm and thunderstorm in Larson's legends. The fickle-minded man often got angry because of the hot summer, attacking the mainland from the sea, bringing thunder and lightning, heavy rain and strong winds, causing huge waves and storms, causing countless people to lose their homes. Some people even lost their lives. Luong laughed and explained, saying that from a scientific perspective, Lakhar does not exist. It is just a natural phenomenon caused by the imbalance of heat on the sea surface, and the influence of various elements such as high and low pressure and air convection. Before the storm, the sky often appears white feather or high horsetail clouds, which accumulate over time. These clouds gradually thicken into dense cirrostratus. The extremely beautiful night fog and thick cirrostratus like today clearly indicate that the storm is approaching. I had told Ellie's group to finish the disaster preparedness work early on. At that time, I was worried whether everyone would encounter it. Lalisa listened and exclaimed in surprise. His Majesty's vast knowledge and concern for his people made people admire him. Luong was praised and humbled himself. He immediately took the book on nature and placed it in her hand and said, "That's too much praise. This knowledge was compiled by someone who came before. If you're interested, I'll give you all these books on weather science. Inside there are detailed scientific explanations of storms, thunder, and weather phenomena." Lalisa happily raised her voice. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Then she said that the storm would make the boat extremely dangerous. It was really not suitable for Princess Jill to return to Larson in the near future. His Majesty asked me to stay by Jill's side. I agreed. He replied with satisfaction. "You work, I can rest assured." The two of them then left the mansion and headed to the dining room. Princess Jill was still sighing. "This pudding is so delicious. I'm so embarrassed. I've eaten too much." Nicole happily said, "It's okay, someone who knows how to eat, eats as well as a princess. It's a great affirmation of my cooking ability. I really like it." When Luong arrived, there were only a few people left. He couldn't help but wonder. "Oh, why are there only everyone left?" Nicole explained. "We were just chatting." Ellie said that there was still some official business that had not been resolved. Princess Jill continued. "Then I said that there was no need to be polite. There was no need because I was affecting everyone's work. Then I advised them all to leave. It must be because I was willful that I affected His Majesty Lufeng's work. If you have something to do, you can go back and continue working. I have a surname, that's enough." Luong waved his hand and replied. "I'm afraid this is not good. You are a guest from afar. It is only right for a monarch to entertain you." Hearing him say that, Princess Jill hesitantly suggested. "Then, Your Majesty Luong. If you really want to entertain me, during the time I am in Chang'an City, stay directly in the castle. Of course, my followers will still be at the consulate." Luong agreed without hesitation. "Of course." He thought to himself. "So she's waiting for me here." Besides, Jenny also firmly affirmed that Jill definitely wanted to be with him, so she stayed. Seeing that there was nothing else to do, Luong turned around and said goodbye. "If that's the case, I won't stay any longer. If there's something to do, send someone to look for me." Princess Jill also returned the greeting. "I understand. Goodbye, Your Majesty Luong." She thought happily in her heart. "I can move in now." Jenny blushed slightly inside, advising, "Jill, I actually have a lot of friends here. You don't have to do this on purpose for me." But before she could finish, Princess Jill made a suggestion. "Nicole, tomorrow I want to go to the big markets. Look at the goods in Chang'an City. Can you come with me?" Nicole happily agreed. Of course, if the princess doesn't mind. That's right. It just so happens that the mansion has sent over quite a few new women's clothes. Tomorrow, the princess can choose an outfit she likes to go out. Jill nodded happily after hearing that. "Okay. Nicole, don't call me princess anymore. Just call me Jill. Can I come to your kitchen and take a look? I'm very curious." Nicole quickly agreed. "Okay." Jill, while Jenny was now stunned. Jill and Nicole quickly left. Jenny was still in shock. Lalisa patted her shoulder to comfort her. Seeing her forget her sister. She still hasn't gotten used to it. The next day, Princess Jill had difficulty breathing. It turned out that she was changing into new clothes. Nicole said, "Jill, I have to push hard." She was sure she wasn't afraid of pain. Jill urged. Of course, she had already done this. With that, Nicole immediately pulled the laces behind her back, the dress tightened around the princess' waist, causing her to cry out. After changing, Jill happily lifted her dress and exclaimed. Beauty really comes at a price. Nicole advised her. She should change into another outfit. I saw that she was so suffocated that she couldn't breathe. Her face was red. Jenny also reminded her. Did you forget to go to the supermarket today? How can you go all day dressed like that? Princess Jill said with determination in her eyes. I liked this outfit at first sight. Regardless of whether I can wear it for a day or not, I must wear it. Now it's the two of you. Jill smiled slyly at the two of them. Jenny and Nicole immediately stepped back and refused. You don't want to change, and I don't want to either. But the two of them did not refuse. In the changing room, there were groans. I can't take it anymore. Jill, be gentle. Luong outside listened and exclaimed. This is a beautiful scenery. Suddenly realizing that he was being a bit rude, Luong coughed twice to cover up and asked. They are going shopping today. Why aren't you guys going? Mina smiled and replied. They are going to go shopping with Princess Jill. Compared to this, I'd rather go with you. Ellie folded her arms and said. I want to go. But if I go, the young master will have to handle the official business himself. Luong forced to smile and said. Oh, if you want to go, then go. No need for me. Ellie teased with her eyes half closed. The young master was speechless. Mina also laughed and said. Yes. Exposed. Luong could only laugh and change the subject. Where is Lelisa? Ellie replied. Lelisa had come to the factory early in the morning. She said the storm was coming. Jill might not have time to see all the products. So she wanted to find out the prices and quality of the products from each factory to choose. They agreed to meet at the supermarket at 9 o'clock. Luong heard this and whispered proudly. Indeed, Lelisa did things he could rest assured about. At the Chang'an City factory, the employee held up a rectangular block to introduce it. The basic situation was like this. We will package the glass products. Ensure the safety of the goods during transportation. Lelisa looked up at the sky, thinking anxiously. The sky was still clear this morning. Now it has turned into this. After listening to the clerk's words, Lelisa folded the catalog and said, Okay. I have a general idea of the information on these products. Thank you for today's matter, the clerk smiled and replied politely. No need to thank me. It is my honor to be able to explain this to Lady Lelisa. Lelisa looked ahead. She wondered, that was His Majesty's property. He replied, yes. But it was just the old field. The new field had been moved to the agricultural area. Hearing that, she immediately suggested, please take me there to see. On the other hand, at the supermarket at this time, dark clouds covered the sky. Princess Jill sighed tiredly and said, we spent a whole day at the supermarket. We walked around all the stores. Honestly. Now I'm confused. I forgot what we saw. Lelisa tried to ask. Jill. Do we need to go to the clothing store to change to another outfit? I see that the two of them are fine. Princess Jill firmly refused and said. No, this outfit is the best. Looking up at the sky, it was getting darker and darker. Jenny spoke up. It looked like it was going to rain. Nicole also hummed in agreement. Lelisa read the survey results as she walked. From what she learned at the supermarket today. The prices of commonly used goods in the supermarket. Basically, there was not much difference with the factory. However, the quantity of goods purchased in the supermarket was limited. It might not satisfy her. In addition, fragile goods are not suitable for long-distance shipping by sea. Air freight is expensive and there is a risk of damage. If you want to buy, I suggest you go directly to the factory. Their packaging technology will be better. After listening, Jill replied gratefully. Lelisa, you came to the factory to help me find out about these things. Thank you. I will think about it. Suddenly she looked ahead. There was a flower bed full of colors. Jill exclaimed. What beautiful flowers. Mother always loved flowers. But the gardeners don't know how to take care of flowers at all. Maybe I can invite some gardeners to come over and give them to Mother. Suddenly, the rain poured down. Jenny worriedly asked, why is it suddenly raining so heavily? Lalisa immediately reminded, find shelter from the rain first. The four of them ran down to the awning of a certain shop. Nicole asked with concern, are you all not wet? Jenny and Lalisa were both fine. But Princess Jill said with some difficulty, my new clothes are a bit wet. Nicole saw this and turned to look at her. She saw that the princess's head was wet. She immediately raised her hand to help wipe it off and said, wait. It's the same on your head. Jill was touched and expressed, Nicole, you're so good. Jenny stood to the side and whispered with envy. Since she was little, every time Jill met her favorite chef and food, she was drawn away. It was so annoying. Suddenly, Jenny noticed the name of the sign. She blushed and said, that. I have a suggestion. Let's go get a massage. Princess Jill heard that and gasped. Massage? Such a vulgar thing. Absolutely not allowed. Nicole asked in surprise. Is massage vulgar? Lalisa frowned and said. Do you have any misunderstanding about massage? Princess Jill stuttered. Me. The flashback came back. At that time, Jill also called someone to massage her, but was reminded by her mother. Jill, it's not that mother wants to scold me, but really, as a princess of a country, how can I do such an indecent act? At that time, Jill stammered and explained, Mother, I'm just too tired recently. Just a massage to relax my mind and body. The maid who called for a massage stood there nervously thinking, oh no, it was clearly Princess Jill who called me for a massage. I won't be killed, right? Her mother explained with a serious face. Massage is a normal thing, but your body is very sensitive. When you massage, your expression is very different from other people. Listen to me. Don't let others know about this. Otherwise, people who don't know might think you're a slut. Back to the present. Princess Jill frowned and thought to herself. They wanted to keep me company for a day. There was nothing wrong with wanting to relax now. So why should I care about my shortcomings and ruin their mood? At most, I would try to be patient. Just don't make a sound. I thought about it. She spoke up happily and said. It's because I'm too rigid. I used to think that girls don't like massage. Now that I'm in Shagan City, I want to let go of my previous notions and enjoy myself with everyone. Even so, Jenny still thought with some anxiety. Something's not right. I just wanted to tease Jill. But she seemed to have a psychological shadow about it. At that time, I was standing outside the door and also heard the Queen's admonition. But it's not her fault that she has a sensitive body. She has been ashamed of this for so long. I want to help her. The four of them entered the massage parlor. The female employee appeared and asked everyone. Is this your first time coming for a massage? What services do you want? Lalisa replied. This is our first time here. I wonder what services are available, can you recommend them to us? Nicole looked at the room and exclaimed. As expected of a massage parlor run by a young master. It looks so high class. Princess Jill thought worriedly. This place is different from Larson's massage parlor. It definitely doesn't require physical contact. The friendly staff introduced. There are essential oil massage, oil-free massage and traditional massage. The first two massage styles were invented by His Majesty Luong. Our guests gave very good comments after trying them. Jill listened and carefully browsed the menu. Jenny looked at her and said to herself. The best way to solve Jill's problem was to make her scream loudly. To let her know that there was nothing to be ashamed of. But she couldn't do this alone. Everyone took turns choosing their services. Nicole said, I want a foot massage. Lalisa said, I'll just do a full body massage. Jenny said, I want a neck and shoulder massage and a full body massage. My shoulders hurt a lot after standing and drawing. Only Princess Jill was hesitant. After a while, she blushed and decided, I'm just going to the sauna. Jenny took the opportunity to put her arm around Jill and said, she was just joking. She wanted the most expensive massage. Jill, are you okay? Are you not scared? Jill screamed in fear. How could this be? After everyone finished choosing, the staff member showed the way. Please come this way. Let's change clothes first. Princess Jill went forward and said. I can't wait. I'll go first. Everyone hurry up. Jenny pulled Nicole and Lalisa closer and whispered. Lalisa, Nicole, I want to ask you two a favor. In the massage room, the staff massaged her feet and asked, your feet are swollen. How did you walk so much today? Nicole replied. Yes, your technique is very good, it's very comfortable. Princess Jill sat on the bed, saw the masseuse was about to come to her and said in fear. Miss, don't come yet. The girl cracked her wrist and smiled. You asked for a Thai massage. First, I will use essential oil to warm your hands so you won't be cold. You can take off your clothes and lie down. Jill smiled wryly. She said, sweating. Okay, wait for me a moment. Jill slowly took off her shirt. She told herself to hold back and not make a sound. She then lay down on the bed to let the masseuse do her work. But when the masseuse just touched her lightly, Princess Jill let out a soft moan. The staff applied essential oil to her back and said, "Sir, your shoulder looks a little stiff." Princess Jill let out a soft groan. No. Her body was shaking and red. The employee couldn't help but panic. "Dear customer." Jill gasped as she tried to reply. Like I said, didn't need it." At this moment, the three people, Lelisa, Jenny and Nicole, were petrified looking at her. Everyone's expression was profound. She blushed and took her calloused hand back in embarrassment. This was over. People would definitely think she was a person with no self-control. It turned out that the expressions on the other three's faces were Jill's imagination. But now, the three of them were chatting happily. "Jill, you seem to like it very much. It seems more relaxing to shout out loud like that. Let's try it." Lelisa nodded in agreement. Much more comfortable. So all three of us lay down and asked the staff. "Please be a little stronger. I also want to scream." "Me too. I can too." Everyone then got a massage. "Feel free to scream." Jill was stunned. "Everyone, that's it. Don't they think they're different? Then let's all shout it out." Jill decided to indulge. After a while, everyone returned to the reception room. Jenny stretched her shoulders in satisfaction and asked, "Jill, the craftsmanship here is not bad. Let's come again next time." Jill replied excitedly. "Okay." Seeing that, Jenny couldn't help but be happy. Great. Jill had finally overcome her mental illness. Outside, the rain was pouring down. Thunder and lightning flashed. Lelisa expressed some concern. "It seems like a storm is coming. I wonder if His Majesty will be able to handle it." At this time, in the office building, Old Buff kept asking, "How is the farmland over there?" One reported, "Some crops are down. But we have cleared the canals. So no farmland is flooded," one said anxiously. Still no contact with the factory. The others immediately reassured him. "It's probably a flooded power line somewhere. The wind isn't strong right now. I'll go to the factory area to check." "Do we need to report to His Majesty about the fallen crops? Is he in his office upstairs?" "No, we can handle it ourselves." Upstairs, Ellie and Mina looked out the door worriedly. "This weather is really scary. It's as dark as night." Luong said, "This is just the beginning. The worst of the storm hasn't come yet." Then he asked, "Has a severe storm warning been issued?" Ellie replied, "Yes, a few days ago, we put out a newspaper and explained safety procedures to the public to inform them about the storm situation. Remind them to stock up on food and limit unnecessary trips outside. An hour ago we issued a yellow alert for bus, rail and balloon suspensions." Luong heard this and added more. "The city gates must also be careful to prevent floods and industrial disasters in the city. There are also agricultural areas that must be strictly managed. Be careful of natural disasters that affect food prices." Ellie nodded, "Okay, I'll go now." Luong couldn't help but sigh after giving his instructions. This reaction was more serious than I thought. Mina comforted me. Everyone had already done a lot of preparation and warning work. Nothing will happen. "Young master, don't worry. That reminds me, I also encountered a storm like that when I was wandering outside before. At that time, I was not old enough and did not have the skills I have now. I was almost struck by lightning. I had nowhere to go. So I found a cave in the mountains and hid there. It rained heavily for several days. The temperature dropped sharply. It was damp everywhere. It was basically impossible to light a fire. Then the water flooded. I was forced into a small corner high up. Luckily, the storm subsided before the water completely entered the cave. Otherwise, I would not have had the chance to see the young master." After listening to her story, Luong suddenly hugged her and called out, "Mina." He leaned into her ear and affirmed, "Trust me. Such a difficult thing will never happen again in the future." Mina leaned against his chest, feeling warm inside. Yes. Chang'an City's Lord's mansion was now bathed in the bright sunlight after yesterday's huge storm. At that time, Ellie was reporting the situation to Luong. According to the report, the city was not affected at all. However, the agricultural situation was severely affected. Many vegetables in the low-lying areas were flooded. Corn and sugarcane were blown down by the wind because the plants were too tall. Luong asked Ellie again. Has the Ministry of Agriculture handled it? Ellie also quickly provided information. Yes. It is all being handled. Last night, after confirming that the typhoon had passed, we issued a disaster reconstruction order. Currently, all departments are working overtime. The report was also completed and submitted early. Mina stood by the window. She looked out over the city and exclaimed. The speed and reaction of these departments were really fast. Now it seemed like order had been restored outside. The big markets were open as usual and the buses were running again. Luong, on the other hand, was not very happy. He sighed and replied, this is just the surface. If the problems in the agricultural area are not handled properly, the price of food in Chang'an City will increase in the next few days. The people will focus on food. By then, the common people will be affected quite a bit. In addition, due to the storm, radio communications were disrupted. Therefore, we have not received any news from the major coastal cities for many days. We also do not know what the situation is like there. After a while of feeling quite discouraged, Luong took the initiative to encourage everyone. Alright, instead of sitting here worrying, it's better to deal with practical matters. I'll go to the agricultural area to patrol first, see if I can be of any help. What about you guys? Ellie heard that and quickly said, I'll go with you. Mina replied, I already made an appointment to go with Dees to the security office, so I can't go with you. The scene quickly moved to an agricultural area, where trees were down and large trees were easily blown down by the strong winds of the storm. A farmer there saw the cabbages floating on the water. He was very worried. If this cabbage is picked before noon, it can still be sold. If it is left in water like this, it will all spoil. The others were also worried, hurriedly shouting to each other, quickly, use tree branches to prop these things up. Luong and Ellie both witnessed everything. Ellie said sadly, quite a lot of these corn and sugarcane fell and broke. Luong continued. Even if the sugarcane fell and broke, it could still be used to make sugarcane, but this corn was a pity. It didn't even have a corn cob yet, so what could be done with it? Everyone in the agricultural area greeted Luong as soon as they saw him. Your Majesty? Good morning, Your Majesty. In the distance, Shirley was also excited to see Luong and Ellie. Luong also greeted back happily when he was greeted by everyone. Hello everyone, you don't need to pay attention to me, you guys just continue with your work. Harvesting and planting seeds are important. Shirley hurriedly approached Luong and said excitedly. Young Master, Ellie, are you two here to inspect the land situation? Luong happily replied, yes. Ellie asked back, on the contrary, why are you here too? Shirley explained that one of my previous duties was to teach farmers about agriculture, so I was relatively familiar with the agricultural area. After the disaster, I took the initiative to sign up for disaster relief work in the agricultural area and now I am in charge of this area. Hearing this, Luong asked Shirley, what is the specific situation now? Shirley replied sadly, it is worse than the situation in the report. Due to the high temperature, the vegetables are rotting very quickly, we are in a hurry to harvest. Shirley pointed to the cornfield and continued, there's also corn, this is the most damaged area among the corn-growing areas, they were uprooted, and soaked in water for days, they can't survive if replanted, we've harvested them but don't know how to deal with them. Luong pondered, drying all these fresh corn stalks to use as firewood was not very practical. How about using them as silage? Ellie was confused, what was it? Shirley was also confused, silage? Luong explained with shining eyes, silage is a kind of roughage obtained by fermenting green roughage with a moisture content of 65% to 75%. After being chopped and kept in airtight conditions, this silage method is not complicated, rich in nutrients and has good preservation ability, can be used as livestock feed, and can also be used as food during wartime. After listening, Shirley felt quite okay. Young Master, this idea is great. Ellie was also excited. It just so happened that we had recently purchased quite a few war horses, so now we wouldn't have to worry about horse feed. Shirley continued to wonder, what about the other crops? We think we should harvest first, then plant some short-term vegetables to supply Chang'an City. Luong gave a rather careful instruction. This method of silage is indeed feasible, but remember to plan areas for planting potatoes and sweet potatoes. After all, we have to rely on this staple food to survive the winter, and as for vegetables, we have greenhouses so don't worry too much. Shirley's face brightened after hearing that. Yes sir, she happily said goodbye to Luong and ran off. I'll go tell them about the silage. Young Master, I'll go first. When Shirley left, Ellie was impressed and praised Luong. Young Master, you are really amazing. Luong replied humbly. It is useless for me to be amazing alone. To get through this crisis, it all depends on everyone's efforts. He looked at the hard-working farmers and continued. These people did not give up after the disaster. They worked super hard and seriously. We are very lucky to be able to help them. Maybe in the future, we will ask each department to write a summary, so that next time we encounter a similar situation, we can definitely do better. Ellie looked up at Lu Feng with great admiration and respect. The young master was so cool. After that, the two of them left while chatting. Ellie said to Lu Feng, back in this period of time, the amount of loss was within our expectations. Young master, can you rest assured now? Lu Feng replied with a determined gaze. It's not time to be at ease yet. Haiyan City, Jilin City, and Sahara. We still don't know what to do. Then, you check the documents in the treasury first. So that when they need us, we can help. The scene shifts to the lush Sahara. The chieftain of the savannah, Elsa, is asking her guard about the damage. Aside from the loss of household goods, what about the livestock and warhorses? The subordinates beside him also reported in detail. The losses were very heavy. More than 500 young horses, more than 700 lambs, 80 calves, and about 20 adult warhorses were all killed. The leader asked angrily. How did so many ponies and lambs die? How do these people look after them? The guard beside him only replied sadly. The storm had blown away all the slums. They were scared, so they stood exposed to the wind and rain. Then it became like this. The Saharan tribe leader could only sigh after hearing this. Okay, send all the dead cattle and sheep to the food street. I will give you some documents in a moment. You can ask the chef to process the dried meat based on those ingredients. First, count the damage to the tents. Then report back to me. Understood. Seeing the guards still standing there, Elsa wondered and urged. Go away, why are you still standing there? The guard hesitantly replied. Still. There is still one thing. The guard reported the details of the epidemic. A disease had broken out in the night camp. The female doctor said that according to the medical books of Chang'an City, this was a common flu. If we didn't take care to control it, it would spread widely. However, the medicine we bought last time was almost gone. The tribe leader was worried after hearing this. The tribe was in chaos right now. Even if he immediately arranged a medicine deal with His Majesty Lu Feng, it would not be very practical. Then she ordered her subordinate. Wait. Have you investigated the situation of the other tribes? Their knights are also sick, right? Her subordinate replied, quite surprised. Yes, how did your highness know? The leader Elsa replied sternly. How I know is not important. Pass on my orders. Quickly reorganize the tribe. Don't be stingy with the medicine. Help everyone recover as soon as possible. In addition, send scouts to Chang'an City immediately. I want to make a deal with His Majesty Lu Feng. In Jilin City, Princess Bilis was anxiously asking her father. Why is it so serious? Many buildings have been damaged. His Majesty Kuzan was also upset. The city has already finished its census. The port and farmland are in a mess. Many boats have been destroyed and the rice fields have been completely flooded. In the fall, we may face a situation where there will be no harvest. Princess Bilis continued to speak to His Majesty worriedly. Father, don't we still have food in our warehouses? We should be able to survive, right? His Majesty Kuzan replied with a look of sadness. But that stored food is seeds for next season. If we distribute it to the people now, what will happen to next season? If we don't distribute it, we might not survive this season. He looked out at the ruins. He continued sadly. What was even more frightening was that the storm had brought too many sea fish. If they were not cleaned up in time, a plague would break out. But cleaning these things required stamina. To replenish stamina, one needed food. Bilis then suggested a way. Could we pickle those fish and store them as food? It would also prevent the disease. Then we could borrow food from the surrounding cities. After hearing this, His Majesty Kuzan felt that it was unreasonable. He said, it was not satisfactory. First, we cannot eat so much fish. Second, the weather is hot and humid and there is no condition for pickling. Third, the situation in the neighboring towns is estimated to be the same as ours. There probably won't be any surplus food either. The same goes for Chang'an City. His Majesty Kuzan continued, and since the storm, the radio has been broken. We cannot contact Chang'an City. Princess Bilis heard and immediately made a decision. Father, then let me personally go to Chang'an City to ask the young master for help and escort the food back. His Majesty Kuzan did not see the prospects. He asked his daughter again, are you serious? The storm has not completely passed. You may encounter many dangers on the way. Princess Bilis said firmly. Father must stay behind to protect the town. Of course I am the most suitable person to go to Chang'an City. I don't mind this kind of wind and rain. I will definitely bring food back. Seeing this, His Majesty Kuzan did not try to stop him any further. He nodded slightly to show his agreement with Bilis. But, His Majesty Kuzan turned around and teased the princess. Surely it wasn't because I wanted to see His Majesty Lu Feng. The princess was teased and her face turned red. She replied irritably. Father. What time is it that you're still joking like that? His Majesty Kuzan just smiled warmly. He hugged his daughter and replied softly. The atmosphere just now was too tense. I just wanted to adjust the atmosphere a bit. Then, His Majesty Kuzan spoke to Princess Bilis with a serious expression. My little princess has grown up. She knows how to share the worries of this old father. But unfortunately, I am also old. The princess replied firmly. My father is not old. His Majesty Kuzan had no choice but to stop arguing. All right. Not old. I will now send someone to arrange a carriage to Chang'an City. The scene shifts to Jining City Yadian. Field subordinates are reporting anxiously. Half of the buildings in Roland City have collapsed. Seawater has submerged most of the rice fields. He took the report and continued reading. Zijin City also suffered heavy losses. More than half of the houses collapsed. The port was also destroyed. They are all asking for our support. From the news they received in the past few days, the towns along the coast all suffered heavy losses. There is no food. Some people want to escape. They have run towards Timothy and Han Dynasty. Field waved his hand. Said. Walked away. No need for more words. Just deal with it like the previous towns. Send people to deliver food to Roland City and Zijin City. Deacon Hong began to report again. Your Majesty. The 9 coastal cities are all in trouble. But our front line is still fighting. There are not many manpower and resources left. The subordinate beside Deacon Hong agreed and continued. That's right, Your Majesty. We might as well skip rebuilding a part of the city. Let's move the people to a place with less natural disasters. Field was upset after hearing that. Take them away? The nobles leave their lands. Send people to guard their lands and houses. They can still live in luxury as before. The people gather to live. Lose their lands. What do they use to make a living? Field continued. Moreover, concentrate. Land and food must be redistributed. At first glance, it seems to save time. In reality, it wastes a lot of human and material resources. It is better to stay where you are. Field gave the plan to his 2 subordinates. Tell them. I wrote the solution last night. Everyone, just follow it. Deacon Hong is worried. His Majesty secretly got up in the middle of the night to work again. Holding the solution in their hands, Field's 2 subordinates' faces lit up. Giving charity porridge to the elderly and disabled who were unable to work. Using reconstruction to let those who were able to work use their labor to exchange for food and housing. Your Majesty. This method is very good. Deacon Hong was also delighted. Just like that. Not only did it give them a chance to survive. It could also rebuild their local base. More importantly, the home they built with their own hands would feel even more like a home. After a moment of joy, Deacon Hong suddenly looked down and said to Field. That's right, Your Majesty. As for those who ran back to the Timothy and Han Dynasty barracks. Do we need to capture them? Field firmly said, no need. Field explained. Most people are not so helpless. They will not leave their homeland. Therefore, as long as they know that their homeland still has a way to survive, they will naturally return. As for those who deliberately want to leave, it is useless to chase them. Tell the people of Black Iris to hide. Infiltrate the countries. The Han Dynasty must send out the elite of Black Iris. Field glared. I wanted to see. Could Lu Feng hold on this time? The scene changed to Chang'an City's Lord's Mansion. Ellie exclaimed worriedly. Something had happened. Lu Feng was curious. What's wrong? Ellie handed the telegram to Lu Feng. She hurriedly said. Jilin City sent a telegram. Ask about Princess Bilis's whereabouts. They said that 5 days ago the princess took a carriage to Chang'an City to ask for help. Ellie continued. But we didn't see her. There's no news of her entering the city. Dees wondered if something happened on the way that caused the delay. Mina had another idea. It couldn't be. If there was a delay, there should be news. Ellie was very worried. Surely she hadn't been kidnapped. It was because of the storm recently. There had been a lot of refugees from other countries. Who knows? Luong brushed away Ellie's negative thoughts. Don't think too much. Nothing will happen to Billis. She's in a car. She even has bodyguards. One look and you can tell she's someone with a big background. Ordinary people wouldn't dare to touch her. Moreover, during the natural disaster, the Dees guards have imposed a complete curfew. Even if there are bandits or refugees from other places, they'll be caught early. Luong turned to Dees. Ordered her. Maybe she was like Dees said. Something happened halfway. Lost time. There is only one road between Chang'an City and Jilin City. Contact the guards. Dees went to find someone. Dees happily agreed. I will go make arrangements. Okay. Go ahead. Ellie was worried about Billis' safety. Why would Billis go out to ask for help in this situation? It's too dangerous. Mina gave a reason. When they left Jilin City, they only received a few supplies. Maybe they suffered serious losses this time. They had no choice but to venture out. Luong simply said, it's useless to worry. We should still work and wait for them. Are there any other important matters? Ellie suddenly remembered. She quickly said, there's a telegram from Ange City. Elsa's detective is asking for our help. Ange City. One of the 9 major cities. Quite close to the Sahara. Ellie explained in more detail. She wants us to send more weapons and medicine. While the other tribes are busy with rescue operations. Attack the enemy. She promised to give us more good quality iron ore. And bring 5,000 knights. Luong was amazed. This is as expected of Elsa. Luong said to Ellie. Okay. Tell them to get the medicine and equipment directly from Jilin City. Set off quickly. Mina said softly to Luong. It seems that the natural disaster in Sahara City is also very serious. Otherwise, Elsa would not have thought of this method. Luong also agreed. We are fully prepared for the natural disaster but still suffered a lot of losses. Not to mention the other side. But if we know that she is still preparing to fight, it proves that we do not need to worry too much. Ellie continued. There's more. The 9 major cities have reported their disaster situation. The coastal cities have all suffered varying degrees of damage. The inland cities have suffered very little damage. Within the coastal cities, only Haiyan City has suffered the least. The other towns have suffered severe damage. Among them, Jilin City is the base. None of the towns have suffered too much damage. Luong wrote down a few lines of statistics. He said. He has planned to count the quantity of materials for each project in each city. Provide support to the disaster-stricken cities. The railway and automobile routes are all given priority for rescue. He will finish the plan today. Ellie. You can send it to them then. Ellie agreed. Yes. Luong said to Mina and Ellie. This is the first time we've used such a rescue mechanism. Mina, you're in charge of contacting the 9 major cities. Keep an eye on the progress. Report at any time. Once done, have them submit a complete report. Mina, listen to my orders. Don't worry, young master. I'll keep an eye out. Mina continued. This time, it was really lucky that the young master warned her. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable. I heard from Yadian. All the houses collapsed. The fields were also flooded. The rescue efforts were not good. Many refugees fled their hometowns. Ellie exclaimed when she saw this. Oh my God, is it that serious? Mina was stunned. Before the storm ended, the border police reported that refugees from all over Yadian had fled here. It was convenient to inform them about the disaster situation on their side. She had written the plan to receive refugees back then. Did she forget? Ellie was embarrassed. Oh, I guess I've just been so busy lately that I'm dizzy. Ellie awkwardly threw herself into Lu Feng's arms to show off her achievements. Compared to them, we didn't have too many casualties. Truly formidable. The young master is wise, truly our savior. Luong just smiled awkwardly and said. Don't exaggerate like that. Ellie then looked out the window again. Looking at the whole city. She said. Moreover, the executive departments work very well. Now just looking from the outside. Completely can't see that we have suffered from natural disasters. She turned her eyes to the people lining up. She exclaimed. Are those people refugees? Refugees entering Chang'an City. Ellie said to Luong angrily. Young master, these people are considered to have entered the imperial capital illegally. Do we need to arrest them? Luong just happily replied. This is allowing refugees to enter the imperial capital. It is also part of the plan to accept refugees. How come you forgot? Come on, let's go down and take a look. Below the main road of Chang'an City. Several people in Chang'an City looked at the refugees. They were discussing excitedly. Are these people refugees? Aren't they from the Han Dynasty? Of course not. His Majesty rescued them in time. We are not in such a miserable state as they are. Some people were wondering again. What are they doing in the city? Repairing the road? Luong turned to Ellie and Mina and said. When he wrote the rescue plan, he found that although the number of trains in each town was sufficient, they would not be enough in case of an emergency. Mina continued. So the young master asked me to take in the refugees. He could mobilize a group of young men to Chang'an City to repair the railway. She had already agreed at that time. Ellie was confused. What were you thinking at that time? Why did you agree? Among the refugees, there was a guy who looked quite funny. He was pointing around. Wow, that house is really new. There are even flower beds. Seeing the refugees looking so ridiculous, Ellie said irritably. It was hard to find out the identities of these refugees. Who knows, there might be a spy lurking inside. For example, that person, he was fierce and at first glance, he was not a good person. Luong was also a bit helpless as he tried to stop Ellie. He just happened to have that appearance. Luong continued talking to Ellie from afar. He wanted to talk about a spy. He thought the other person was more like it. Normal appearance. Not eye-catching at first glance. How safe. Ellie kept her attention on the distance. What was that noise? The real spy standing in front saw Ellie's eyes darting towards him and he felt fear in his heart. This sight. What's going on? Was I exposed? He turned back and forth to confirm. But then he felt something was wrong. He thought to himself. Not following me? Could it be my hallucination? He thought to himself again. He hasn't used his black iris identity for years. There's no way anyone could have discovered it. It's his illusion. It must be just an illusion. It turns out that Ellie heard something just now. It was a kitten. Ellie and Mina were petting this cat. Why is it here? It tickles. It's so cute. Luong just found it strange. It's so noisy outside. I can hear it meowing too. If you both like it, then take it home. But you have to disinfect and bathe it first. Ellie was delighted. Okay. Luong then said to Ellie. No more spy trouble. Ellie also happily agreed. No more spy trouble. If the young master dared to let them in, he must have made full preparations. Luong's eyes seemed to have seen through everything. He was confident. They would soon see the secret weapon he had deliberately prepared for them. In Chang'an City, Luong had someone prepare a special building called the Refugee area. The manager held a loudspeaker and announced. Everyone, be quiet. Line up. Get your daily necessities and then you can enter. The refugees were amazed. Such a beautiful house. They're really letting us live there. They're even giving us daily necessities. We can save some money. Is this really recruiting people to repair the railway? They won't lock us up as slaves, right? The other people were also in an uproar. Are you stupid? The Han Dynasty doesn't have slaves. The other villagers were happy and excited. They got paid and had a place to stay. His Majesty Luong is so generous. It was the right choice for me to come here. Next. The manager gave the spy and Willie keys. She smiled and said, take them. The symbols on the keys are your room numbers. 2 to a room. From now on you will be roommates. Willie and the spy were both quick to thank him. Thank you, manager. Thank you. The spy started thinking again. If I remember correctly, these rooms are very close to the construction site. Wouldn't that be convenient for me to spy on information? Willie behind him started a conversation. Hello. I'm Willie. Your roommate. Let's go see the room. But the spy refused to go see the room with Willie. No, I have something to do. You go first. Willie was confused. Huh? What could be more important than seeing the room? The spy had no choice but to make up an excuse. I'm going to the bathroom. This caught the manager's attention. The spy began his mission. He was secretly pleased. Right now, the area was extremely chaotic with people coming and going. He could take this opportunity to infiltrate the construction site. Who knows, he might be able to steal some important secret. When that time comes. He thought of Field's promise of reward. Very well. His Majesty will make you an earl. Then he slowly tiptoed across the grass. Each step carefully. He stopped under a tree. His face was beaming as he looked towards the pharmacy. Pharmacy. Here I come. Just then a hand patted his shoulder. Hey, what are you doing, manager? She pointed at him sternly. This made him terrified. Could it be that he was discovered? The two looked at each other. Neither said anything. The manager's face was stern, while the spy's face was already dripping with sweat. After a while, the manager pointed to the sign that said no urination or defecation. She loudly reminded him. See? No urinating or defecating. Not even in the bushes. Must be hygienic. This sentence made the spy gape in amazement. The manager then continued to point towards the restroom. She told him. To go to the restroom, you must go to the public restroom. Otherwise, you can relieve yourself in the restroom in your room. It's not that I discriminate against you foreigners. It's just that defecating everywhere is a bad habit. It affects your health. The spy scratched his head. Smiling lightly and obeying. Yes. Yes. I know. The manager said cheerfully. Knowing how to correct mistakes is a good child. Aren't you in a hurry to go to the toilet? Come on. Big sister will show you the way. The spy reluctantly obeyed. Yes. Yes. Then, he changed his expression and thought. Oh well. Let's do some reconnaissance of the construction site later. The manager led him back to his room. She told him. See? This building has 4 floors. Each floor is a unit. Don't get it wrong in the future. He's quite good. Yes. I remember. But at that moment, he was thinking. If I can't go to the factory, I might as well find a chance to probe Luong. The manager also enthusiastically greeted him. Let me introduce myself. I am a staff member of this neighborhood committee. You can call me Sister Lee if you have any problems in the future, just come find me. I suggest you go to the cafeteria downstairs to eat. The food there is not bad. The prices are cheap. His Majesty Luong purposely set it up for you. The spy began to probe. Sister Lee, the stable life I have now is all thanks to His Majesty Luong. I admire that day very much. I have heard many legends about him. What kind of person was he back then, Sister Lee? Sister Lee heard Luong. Her eyes were full of pride as she replied. You asked the right person. Come, let's sit down and talk. Sister Lee praised Luong. Our Majesty is a very good person. He is generous and handsome. He is young and talented. He can write about government affairs. He can lead troops to fight. The spy also added his words. Is that so? Is His Majesty that great? Sister Lee continued. Of course. If I were 10 years younger, I would try to marry His Majesty. I will tell you. Sister Lee continued to praise Luong, causing him to sneeze repeatedly. Luong was standing in line to register, wondering, who reminded me? Ellie was amazed. This was the autonomous commune policy that the young master was talking about. It seemed very useful. Everything was fine. Mina was puzzled. What was that secret weapon? Luong looked at the staff like Sister Lee. He replied happily. The secret weapon is the old men and women wearing red scarves who cooperate with this committee. Ellie wondered. What could they do? Luong replied confidently. They could help these refugees integrate into life in Chang'an City. They could also discuss the problems in the district. These problems we wouldn't understand as well as they do. They could help us eliminate the suspicious elements at first. Ellie happily understood. I understand. Usually people will not be wary of older neighbors, but these people are experienced. They know how to talk, and in the process of living together with neighbors, it is easy to detect irregularities. Once they discover a suspicious person, they will send people from the security department to keep an eye on them, and then they will be caught. This made Luong compliment Ellie. Ellie, you are so smart. Mina wondered again. But if I remember correctly, this house is in an industrial park, close to the pharmaceutical factory. This should be fine. Luong happily said to reassure Mina. The newly opened train station is for transporting goods, of course it has to be in an industrial park. As for confidential matters, the security at the pharmaceutical factory is extremely strict. Ordinary people won't be able to enter. Don't worry. Luong continued with a smile. Furthermore, even if there were spies, they wouldn't be able to resist the attacks of those old men and women. Just as Luong said, the spy was being controlled by Sister Li, making him completely unable to resist. Sister Li kept telling stories about Luong. Furthermore, Our Majesty also issued cards. When His Majesty ascended the throne, other countries came to congratulate him. His Majesty appeared in formal attire, looking extremely handsome. Furthermore, His Majesty once. Sister Li poured stories about His Majesty Luong into this guy's ears one after another. Then, Sister Li asked this guy again. That's right, kid. Where are you from? This guy's face was about to cry as he replied. I'm from the Sahara, but my father is a Yadian. Sister Li was cheerful. Oh, no wonder I feel like you're not like someone from the grasslands. Scene changes to the city lord's mansion. Ellie held the information and kept praising Luong. Young master, your secret weapon is really good. These days the security company has caught quite a few detectives. Ellie held up the list of spies and said. You see, just based on the documents, you can't tell who the detectives are. Luong looked over and agreed with Ellie. These people seemed very ordinary, and their appearances were also very honest. Ellie suddenly kissed Luong on the cheek. Young master is really amazing. Ellie hugged Luong from behind and continued speaking. I heard from Dees that many people showed their flaws during the conversation. Dees sent someone to keep an eye on them, and sure enough, it was them. Luong looked at the documents. He pointed at the spy who was talking to Sister Li. He asked Ellie. Who are these people? Ellie quickly gave the information. These are the people suspected of being detectives. Dees said they would continue to monitor them. Luong hugged Ellie. He gently told Ellie to introduce this model in Chang'an City first. If it works well, we will expand it nationwide. Ellie obediently said, yes, we will take care of this. While they were having a romantic moment, Nicole burst in. Young master, they're back. Ellie was furious. Nicole didn't knock again. Avery and Dio entered the room. They greeted Luong together. Ellie greeted the two of them, but she was still shy inside. It was so embarrassing. Luong asked Dio with concern. Has everyone returned? I was worried that you would encounter another storm. Diao replied happily. Luckily, we took a route that was not stormy. We avoided the storm at sea. Luong continued thoughtfully. Everyone has come all the way here. You've worked hard. Don't just stand there. Let's sit down and eat while we talk. Then everyone sat in the living room, enjoying the food Nicole prepared and talking. Avery said. It's been months since we've had the cake Nicole made. It's really delicious. Diao also happily agreed. It's great. Ellie also nodded. That's right. Everyone praised and Nicole only humbly replied. As long as everyone likes it, that's fine. Then Diao began to express himself to Luong. Your Majesty. The Torola Merchants' medicinal herb ship is only a few days behind us. They are about to arrive at Haiyan City Port. Your Majesty can arrange the diplomatic matter. Luong happily replied. Okay, I will arrange it. Then, Luong turned to Ellie and said. Ellie, contact Nyodet at that time. Be sure to treat these merchants well. Ellie obeys, young master, please rest assured. Ellie petted the cat again. She said happily, I won't let them go empty-handed. At the tallest building in Chang'an City, Ellie was reporting the events. Larson and Torola's merchants had been coming in one after another these past few days. The sales were very good. Every day they were snapped up. Luong replied. It seems the effects of the storm have dissipated. The morning market has not opened yet. There are already many people selling goods on the side of the road. Ellie continued holding the data sheet. That's right. In Chang'an City, there is a wave of business. Almost every household is doing business. Luong seemed a little worried as he said to Ellie. This is not necessarily a good thing. Everyone is doing business. Many positions are not actually held. It is not beneficial to the country or the people. I will write a comment later. Post it in the newspaper to guide them. Luong returned to his work. Suddenly remembering something, he continued. That's right. Didn't we raise the prices of the goods outside? What was the reaction of the other merchants? Ellie replied. The merchants who had cooperated before complained a little. However, they quickly accepted. Merchants Larson and Torola were there for the first time. The reception was very good. Ellie held the data. She spoke in a soft voice. However, a new problem had appeared. The sales of wine and porcelain bottles in Chang'an City were too good. They were sold out as soon as they were sold out. They could only get more from other cities. The sales of other goods were also increasing. Ellie awkwardly said. The money in the vault is almost full. We still have to consider where to put it. Lu Feng looked apologetic. Is this being upset because of too much money? Be sober and don't be arrogant. We still have many cities. Ports and ships damaged by storms need to be repaired. Ellie's eyes lit up at this moment. That's right, I almost forgot. She remembered Jilin City. That's right, Jilin City's port was severely damaged. Nyoer, please advise us on how to handle it. Lu Feng's face became unhappy when he heard this. He reprimanded. These people, what kind of work do they do? That expression made Ellie a little bewildered. Young master. Lu Feng had been fooling Ellie all this time. He turned around faster than rice paper. He said happily. Does this even need instructions? Of course we have to buy. Build and build even bigger. Ellie yelled angrily. The arrogant one is the young master. Ellie continued reading the information in the work report. Ah, young master. Guard D's found Billis. Lu Feng hurriedly asked. Oh, is she okay? Ellie happily replied. She's fine. I was afraid that I didn't hear from her because she got lost. She's on her way to Chang'an City now. Just then, the loud ringing of the bell outside caught Lu Feng's attention. He shouted excitedly. The market was about to start, someone would be impatient today. Ellie, tell Nicole to go prepare breakfast. Ellie was also happy. Okay. Chang'an City Market is now bustling with people. Everyone came to choose the items they liked. I want to buy this. They fought over it. I also want to buy this. I came first. The crowd was bustling back and forth. Customers were still trying to fight over the items they wanted. It's mine. Don't step on my feet. Hey, my shoes. Lelisa and Jill were in the middle of the crowd. Lelisa worriedly said to Jill. Jill, let's go back first. There's no need to walk around now. Jill didn't want to go back. She said, there are so many people. If we don't buy something now, it will be too late. Just then, Jill tripped. She leaned over and cried out. Lelisa called out in panic. Jill. Jill waved her hand out from the crowd to let Lelisa see her. Lelisa, look. I got the item. Lelisa asked Jill worriedly. Jill, are you okay? Jill held the two items she had just bought. She smiled and replied. It's okay. Jill thought to herself, I still want to wait a few more days to import the goods. I didn't expect there to be so many merchants these past few days. I can't compete with them at all. After a while, I won't even be able to compete with the handkerchief. I have to make the first move. Jill thought for a while and then said to Lelisa. Lelisa, I have thought it through. I must formally propose a trade cooperation with His Majesty Lu Feng. After listening, Lelisa expressed her agreement. I understand, please follow me. Very quickly, the two of them arrived at the City Lord's mansion. In the City Lord's mansion, at the reception desk, Lu Feng said to Jill. I guessed that you would come here to find me. So I told Nicole to prepare breakfast. You try it. Seeing the snacks in Nicole's hands, Jill's eyes lit up. But she had more important things to do, so she tried to hold back. Nicole's snacks? Be patient, the main thing was more important. Jill controlled herself. She went straight to the point and said to Lu Feng. Your Majesty Lu Feng. Let's talk about business first. Then let's have breakfast. If you guessed that I would come here to find you, then I'll say it. Lu Feng happily gave in. Please speak. Jill firmly began to speak. Your Majesty Lu Feng. I represent my father, King Lauren of the Larson Empire. Let's build a trade route between Larson and the Han Dynasty. What do you think? Lu Feng replied. If it's a normal cooperation. Princess Jill doesn't need to be so formal. May I ask if you have any other requests? Jill also said. I hope in the future, all cooperation between Larson and Han Dynasty. You can base on the current basic price to give us an additional 5% discount. Hearing this, Luong also spoke up. With Lelisa's help, I believe you understand. The price we are offering now is already very favorable. But Jill gave a convincing reason to Luong. Please listen to me, Your Majesty Luong. During my days at the Han Dynasty, I have fully experienced the strength of your country. He had the most advanced machinery and the most convenient transportation. Resources were constantly pouring into the factory, as the equipment was upgraded and output increased. The capital cost per unit of goods was bound to decrease. In other words, the more production, the lower the capital cost. So the price you are offering now is far from being considered the lowest price. Jill said more firmly. My little request is not too much, Your Majesty. Luong also respected Jill quite a bit and replied. I didn't expect her to be able to see through this. Lelisa had been listening to Jill for a while now. She also secretly noticed the change in Jill. Jill had matured a lot. Ellie also noticed the difference. Princess Jill had completely transformed into a different person. She had such charisma. But what everyone didn't know was that Jill was not common-side. Tense, so tense. She remembered what His Majesty Lauren had told her. Before he left, his father had taught her these few sentences. He told her to say everything when negotiating. He would threaten Luong and take the opportunity to force a price. Jill was worried and scared now. It seemed completely useless now. Father, why are you harming me? But Luong's answer was in agreement with what her father wanted. Okay, this time I can give you a 5% discount. Even next time, I can give everyone a 3% discount. This surprised Princess Jill greatly. Luong continued to Jill. As long as your country is willing to use minerals and workers to trade with me. Jill was confused. Minerals and workers. Luong then explained to Jill. The ores are the jewelry on Lelisa's body. Of course, if everyone has iron ore and pepperstone, that's fine too. The price can be negotiated. He continued talking about the workers. As for the workers, Han Dynasty has to renovate a large part of it. So we need a lot of labor. Don't worry, we will charge them. We don't treat them like slaves. Hearing this, Jill felt relieved. She was quite pleased. She said, I can agree to the matter of workers on behalf of my father. It just so happens that in the Larsen Elf Empire, we have a lot of unemployed young men. I believe they would be happy to come here. As for the ores, I am not sure if there are any of these in the country. I have to go back and confirm. Luong also generously agreed. Okay. Ellie will discuss that matter with her in detail next. Ellie also added. Princess Jill invited me to come along. We can eat and discuss. Jill was delighted to hear that. Really? That's great. Luong turned to ask Lelisa. Lelisa, you've worked hard these past few days. What reward do you want? Lelisa replied humbly. I am Your Majesty's subject. It is my duty to help Your Majesty. However, if Your Majesty really wants to reward me. Lelisa said firmly. I want one person. At the Chan'an City Lord's mansion, Lelisa continued. That's it. The Queen of the Larsen Empire likes to grow flowers. But the gardening techniques of the florists in the palace are very poor. When I surveyed the factory before, I found that His Majesty's flower garden was very well maintained. So I want to invite a gardener to follow Jill to Larsen. Hearing that, Luong replied. Whether the gardeners stay or go is their own choice. You can convince them to come to Larsen. Naturally, I will not stop them. Luong sighed and continued. You're asking such a serious question for such a small matter. It seems I'm not usually very reasonable. It's not easy to talk to. As soon as she finished speaking, Lelisa quickly replied. Of course not. Your Majesty is very gentle, very considerate, and is also a wise monarch in my heart. I have never seen Your Majesty as unreasonable. I feel that it is my honor to be able to work with Your Majesty. Therefore, I want to treat every matter related to Your Majesty seriously. What am I saying? Hearing that, Luong laughed and said. I was just joking. Don't be nervous. As soon as he finished speaking, Lelisa immediately stood up and said. I have finished reporting. Your Majesty. We can go out now. Seeing that, Luong continued speaking. Oh. Ellie and Jill have signed the contract. Let's go over there and see. Hearing that, Lelisa thought to herself. Why did I say such shameless words just now? What would His Majesty think of me? At this moment, Luong also thought to himself. I didn't expect that in Lelisa's heart, I would be such a wise ruler. I must work harder in the future. Not to disappoint her trust. Lelisa closed her eyes and thought to herself, comforting herself. Don't think too much. If I've decided to serve His Majesty, then no matter what His Majesty thinks, I must put aside my miscellaneous duties and do my duty well. Standing in front of the door, suddenly Ellie's voice rang out. Shoo! Keep your voice down. Nicole spoke. Flay! Don't make a fuss. Hearing that, Flay replied in a hushed voice. I'm just trying. Sister Dees definitely won't fall asleep that quickly. Flay took the pizza and approached Dees and said. Dees. Want some pizza? Mina saw that. She held Ellie tightly with one hand and said. Don't move. Nicole also reminded her. Don't play around. She fell asleep after sitting for a while. She must be very tired. Luong walked inside. Teacher Dees was lying on the table. He thought to himself. Even the usually energetic Dees had fallen asleep. Everyone had really worked hard during this period of time. Looks like I have to think of a way. Let everyone take a few days off. Suddenly Princess Jill spoke loudly. His Majesty is here. His Majesty. Lelisa. We have signed the contract. I want to write a letter to tell the Emperor the good news. I will go back to my room first. Hearing that, Luong replied. Go. At this moment, Luong stared at Princess Jill and thought to himself. If the Emperor and Empress knew that everything was going well, they would definitely be very happy. Princess Jill smiled and looked at Luong and said to herself. They've been out for so long. I wonder what they're doing now. In the Larson Empire. In the palace. Sister Jill and the Larson Empire's Majesty were walking together in the garden. The Queen of the Larson Empire said. The air in the garden after the rain is really fresh. Very nice. Hearing that, the King of the Larson Empire replied. That's right. I didn't expect this heavy rain. The flowers in the garden didn't suffer much damage. It was around this time before. Jill came with us to see the flowers. I wonder how she is doing now. As soon as she finished speaking, the Queen of the Larson Empire continued. You remember. Wasn't it because His Majesty insisted on sending her as an envoy to the Han Dynasty? Hearing that, the King of the Larson Empire continued. Isn't it because of Lelisa that I feel at ease letting Jill go? Don't be angry, look at how beautiful the flowers are. Do you want to take some back to your room? Hearing that, the Queen of the Larson Empire pursed her lips and replied. No, if you take some back, they will die in a few days. The gardeners are useless. As soon as he finished speaking, the King of the Larson Empire raised his hand and scratched his head in embarrassment. Maybe she should take this opportunity to look more closely. There was still more than a month until autumn. By then, there would be no more flowers in the garden. Hearing this, the Queen of the Larson Empire immediately frowned in displeasure, speechless. Then she replied angrily. You go see the flowers yourself. Seeing that, the King of the Larson Empire quickly explained. Don't be angry. I was just joking. Hearing that, the Queen of the Larson Empire seemed to be furious. She replied loudly. Joking. Your Majesty knows very well that I love flowers. And like that. Seeing that, the King of the Larson Empire continued. Don't go. That's right. Don't you like Chang'an City's food very much? The workers reported the progress yesterday. They said that there have been some results. Why don't we ask them to show it to us? Hearing that, the Queen of the Larson Empire sulked and replied. All right. In the magnificent palace. The King of the Larson Empire sat on his chair. He said. This is the result of your research. Why cover it? Hearing that, the young man knelt down and saluted. Yes. Your Majesty. This is because the research is not going well. Hearing that, the King of the Larson Empire continued angrily. So you reported results. How dare you deceive me? Seeing that, the young man panicked and quickly explained. I did not mean to deceive your Majesty. It's just that the results are different from those of the Han Dynasty. Please see, your Majesty. After saying that, the young man quickly opened the lid. Seeing the food before them, the Majesty and Queen of the Larson Empire couldn't help but be surprised. They stared with wide eyes. Seeing this, the King of the Larson Empire shouted loudly, saying that this was no different. It was clearly a successful simulation. After that, the Queen of the Larson Empire walked over and raised her glass of wine. She said with a smile. The scent is light, although it is not as strong as the Han Dynasty. But it is enough to make your heart excited. And this dazzling red color. Your Majesty. Isn't this the wine we drank last time? His Majesty the Larson Empire picked up the food and looked at it carefully before saying. This piece of braised meat has a fresh color. It is chewy. It is very similar to what we ate before. And the young man on this side. His face was tense. He said to himself. Oh no, oh no. Suddenly, the Larson Empire queen spat out the wine in her mouth. Her face grimaced. Seeing that, the slaves ran over and asked, Queen. Are you okay? The queen's clothes are dirty, quickly get a towel. The king of the Larson Empire hurriedly asked, Are you okay? Hearing that, the queen replied, I'm fine. Your Majesty. This wine looks not bad. But the taste is bitter and astringent. Far from the Han Dynasty. Hearing that, the king replied. The braised meat is the same. It looks very similar. But the taste is far from it. The result of more than a month of research. Just like that. You clearly know it's a failure. You still use Han Dynasty's tools to decorate. You want to cheat me out of it. Seeing this, the young man was scared and shouted loudly. Your Majesty. We didn't mean it that way. It's really because the Han Dynasty's head is hard to follow. We came up with this last resort. Hearing that, the king angrily continued. I know it is difficult. That is why I fully support you. But you did something like this. This time I will punish you with 3 months of salary. If there is a next time. Go away. Get down. As soon as he finished speaking, the young man quickly bowed and replied. Yes. Thank you, Your Majesty, for not killing me. Finished handling. The Larson Empire king then held the queen's hand. Said tenderly. Originally wanted to make her happy. Didn't expect them to be so useless. Hearing that. The Larson Empire queen then replied. Your Majesty is kind. I have seen enough. But. Why does Your Majesty want to follow these things? If you like it. Isn't it fine to buy it? Hearing that. The king then explained further. The Han Dynasty's canned goods, wine, and fabrics are much better than ours. Once they start trading. They will take over all the market space of our country's merchants. When that happens. What will they do? Hearing this, the queen gently placed her hand on the king's shoulder. She continued. The Han Dynasty is so far away. Traveling by sea is dangerous. Not all of those merchants have boats to go to sea. In fact, they don't import much goods. Your Majesty doesn't need to worry. Speaking of this, the king's face became tense. He continued. That's not all I'm worried about. The boat Lelise is on is already big enough. But the guards learned from the Han Dynasty's entourage. The Han Dynasty also had a large iron ship. It was sturdy. It could hold a lot of goods. This meant that the Han Dynasty had extremely advanced maritime technology. They could create something like that. Their weapons must be a level above ours. If Lu Feng didn't have expansionist intentions, then fine. If he did. Leading in technology. Adding in huge income from maritime trade. It could be said. Han would be the future hegemon of these continents. We follow suit. Not just mimicking. Actively participating in this sea battle. Just wait and see. Other countries in the future will definitely also raise a wave of enthusiasm to imitate the Han Dynasty. Right now. In Torola. A group of people are busy repairing the road. The black-haired man asked curiously. His Majesty has repaired the road. This section of road has been repaired 3 times. Hearing that, the red-haired man continued to speak with force. It seemed like they wanted to make a road similar to the Han Dynasty road described in the book. The last time they repaired it, it was completely impassable. Then they did it again. As soon as they finished speaking, the black-haired man continued. Luckily, they only tried to do 1 section. Otherwise, the road would be in chaos no matter how big or small. Ha! That's right. It seems the port was repaired like in the book. His Majesty is imitating the Han Dynasty. It's not our place to gossip about His Majesty's business. Stop talking. Let's go. Over here. King Torola was standing high up, observing the situation. He said with a smug smile. This time the road is very similar to the one in the book. As long as we finish repairing the road, we will definitely catch up with the Han Dynasty. Hearing that, the subordinate standing next to him immediately added his words. Your Majesty is wise and powerful. We will definitely catch up, but Your Majesty. What book are we referring to? I have never seen Your Majesty take it out before. Hearing that, King Torola immediately took out a book. He smiled and said with delight. It was this book. The supreme treasure passed down from the Han Dynasty. I got it from Lena, don't tell her. In this book, written in great detail about the aspects of Han Dynasty, houses, ports, roads and types of shops, is an important document for us to imitate. Suddenly, Lena pulled King Torola's shirt and called out loudly. Father! Lena said angrily. You're doing something wrong again. Seeing that, King Torola quickly explained. Lena! Don't be angry. Let your father borrow this book for a few days. Next time I won't take your things carelessly. Without further ado, Lena immediately snatched the book back. She frowned and said, Are you angry about this? Hearing that, King Torola asked in surprise. Is that so? Seeing that King Torola did not understand the problem, Lena explained helplessly. I am angry because you just want to do whatever comes to mind. Using a 3-year-old's primer as a reference for construction. I did not mention the previous 2 experiments. Now, directly using rubble and mud to build. Boiling water to level the ground. At first glance, it looks exactly like the picture in the book. But wait until it rains. The mud will be washed away. Only rocks will remain. The road will become even more difficult to navigate. From what I can see, there is no special adhesive material. This road cannot be successfully tested. When will the Emperor see the truth? Hearing that, King Torola affectionately stroked his daughter's head and said. You're only 15 years old and already thinking about such complicated things. Be careful or you'll age quickly. Come. Go for a walk with the Emperor. Hearing that, Lena angrily shouted. Emperor. After that, Lena and King Torola were walking together. King Torola asked Lena, how do you compare Torola and the Han Dynasty? As soon as he finished speaking, Lena raised her hand to stroke her chin and thought before replying. I have never been to the Han Dynasty. Looking at the goods. The books and descriptions of the merchants about the Han Dynasty. The Han Dynasty is a powerful country, they are even stronger than us. As soon as he finished speaking, King Torola glanced at his daughter and continued. My little Lena is indeed very smart. The Han Dynasty is indeed stronger than us. That's why we need to learn from the Han Dynasty. Try to catch up with them. Until we surpass them. And repairing roads is just the first step in our pursuit of development. Hearing that, Lena quickly replied. So that's what the Emperor thought. I thought he was angry because his brothers were captured. At this moment, Lena thought to herself. It's not like father doesn't see the reality clearly like I think. He's so easily satisfied. I misunderstood father. I will definitely change my mind about father in the future. Suddenly, King Torola burst out laughing and said. Do you see that your father is very formidable? Very respectful. Very fond of your father? It's not that the Emperor is boasting. He's wise. Father is much better than those 2 useless guys, Larson and Fabreau. Hearing this, Lena sighed and said to herself. I'll take back my thoughts. Over here. The King of Larson. Lauren held the piece of meat in his hand and said. Well done. Reward. King Torola exclaimed. Larson's Lauren is old. She looks like a woman. She only knows how to have fun. Even if they study the Han Dynasty, they only think about useless food and wine. On the other side. King Fabreau. Chandra immediately ordered. Go conquer other continents. King Torola commented that. And that old man Chandra. Gave birth to a bunch of children. Let them fight each other for power. Conquer everywhere. Now he probably told the prince and princess to go conquer. Only I can think of the most fundamental way to overcome the Han Dynasty. That is. Want to be rich. Fix the roads first. Hearing that, Lena helplessly sighed and said. Father. If you really want to repair the road, why do you need to follow children's books? Just ask the royal brothers in the Han Dynasty to help you invite workers to repair the road, wouldn't that be enough? As soon as he finished speaking, King Torola immediately shouted in response. Good idea. Why didn't I think of it? I'll go write them a letter. Tell them to bring the workers back. With that, King Torola immediately turned around and left. Seeing that, Lena looked after him. Thinking to herself. Didn't she say she was going for a walk with me? She started thinking about this and that again. Forget it. It's already good that the Emperor isn't trying too hard as expected. I hope the Imperial brothers can successfully bring the workers back. At this moment, at Chang'an City, the two princes of the Torola Empire, Knight and Nemo, were singing happily. The two of them were completely captivated by Chang'an City and forgot about the humiliation they had suffered. Knight laughed and said, "It was raining and storming a while ago. We drank for a few days. The sky has cleared up." Hearing that, Nemo quickly replied, "Rain. It had been raining. It seemed like it really had. It was all because the consulate was too comfortable." Suddenly, Knight hit Nemo hard on the head. He shouted loudly, "Can you have some courage? We have been here for 2 months already. Staying any longer would be too humiliating for the Emperor and Torola." Hearing that, Nemo replied tearfully, "So what does the boss want?" As soon as he finished speaking, Knight replied, "Move out of the consulate. Live on your own. Until the king sends money." Nemo wondered and asked again, "Is there any difference? We don't know anything anyway. Can't we just let someone else raise us?" Hearing this, Knight replied with a serious expression, "I'm willing to be degraded. Don't be my brother in the future." Hearing that, Nemo was surprised and asked, "Wait. My big brother is not depraved. Tell me. What should we do?" As soon as he finished speaking, Knight immediately said, "Of course." Speaking of this, Knight suddenly fell silent. He wondered to himself, what to do now? While deep in thought, suddenly the loudspeaker announced, "The first season of Chang'an City Summer Sports is about to begin. Athletes who participate in the competition and achieve high rankings can get rich rewards. First place is up to 100,000. Hearing that, Knight immediately pulled Nemo along and said, "Let's go. Let's join the movement." Over here, Nicole announced loudly, "There are a total of 7 events in this summer sports season. Swimming, weightlifting, archery, soccer, badminton, cross-country running, and sprinting. We have posted the specific details on the bulletin board. Everyone can see for themselves." Drew heard that. He looked interested and said, "This is a sports festival? It feels fun. There are so many events." Ellie quickly added, "This is what His Majesty thought of, right? His Majesty is really amazing." In the crowd, a young man with 2 black horns on his head heard the announcement. He kept exclaiming, "I must participate. Even if I don't get the prize, this is still Chang'an City's first sports meet." It was written on the notice board. Regardless of the category, the top 3 will receive 100,000, 50,000, and 30,000 banknotes respectively. They can also receive a specially made commemorative medal. The community with the winning athlete will be awarded the title of Chang'an City Elite Community by His Majesty. Seeing this, Knight's eyes lit up and he exclaimed, 100,000 banknotes in Chang'an City can buy a house. We've made a profit. Hearing this, Nemo excitedly replied, "Brother, we will definitely win." But it said, this is a competition that takes the community as the participating unit. You have to participate in the first round of the community exam, selected from within to be able to represent the area in the sports festival. As soon as he finished speaking, Knight replied, "We have been learning swordsmanship from our teacher since we were young. These commoners are no match for us." Hearing this, Nemo helplessly explained further, "What I mean is, we are foreigners living in the consulate, not in the public area at all." Seeing that Nemo seemed to have a point, Knight smiled and replied, "Anyway, the notice board didn't say that foreigners weren't allowed to participate, we just need to randomly find an area to register." As soon as he finished speaking, Nemo happily replied, "Okay, reward 100,000, here I come." On the stage, Nicole loudly declared, everyone was so enthusiastic, even the young master couldn't see. This was the first time the young master stood on stage. And below, there were no people shouting and watching. Mina standing next to her heard this, she replied, "That's right, even the 2 princes of Torola were very enthusiastic." Luong then continued, "Perhaps the sports event was quite new to everyone, coupled with the high prize money, the natural attraction was very large, it was not in vain that he spent so much time planning." Then, Nicole looked at Luong with an embarrassed expression and said, "Young master is really something, he secretly completed all the plans for the sports festival by himself. I only found out about the sports festival a while before I went on stage to host it." Mina saw this and said angrily, "That's right, the people below also helped young master hide it. Ellie's group is afraid that they don't know anything now. Young master, you are usually very tired, please don't do that again next time." Hearing that, Luong raised his hand and coughed a few times before replying, Don't you see that you guys are very tired? Then, Luong used both hands to hug Nicole and Mina's waist tightly and said with a smile, "Don't be angry, if everything is satisfactory, you guys can enjoy yourself." Next is the fun time. Cheonan City Gymnasium, the voice of the MC rang out, "Cheonan City's first summer sports festival is about to begin, please be seated. Spectators, please do not gather at the athletes' entrance. Athletes representing the regions are about to enter the field, where is your enthusiasm?" Hearing this, the audience in the stands excitedly stood up and cheered loudly throughout the stadium. On the stands, in the special area, Ellie's voice rang out, the distinguished guests like Princess Jill had already taken their seats. The audience, the opening ceremony and the first competition had also entered the stadium, now the entire hall plus the staff, there were a total of 12,300 people. Ellie stood inside with her arms crossed looking outside. Dees and Mina had already entered a safe position, there was no problem below. The air patrol point was guaranteed by Lelisa, everything was arranged, young master could rest assured. Luong looked at Ellie bustling around, sighing inwardly. He had already arranged everything, he wanted Ellie's group to rest. Luong remembered that at that time, he ordered 3 people to prepare for today's sports festival. Sync, when the time comes, lead the security team in charge of the safety work for the entire venue, the work policy will be given later. Deputy team leader, she leads the archery team, in charge of patrolling the air defense points. Aunt Mai, you are quite meticulous. I will leave the work of the volunteer group to you. During the competition days, I will stay in the VIP lounge of the stadium. If anyone has any problems, you can always report to me. The 3 people received the order and answered in unison, yes. Thinking of that moment, Luong let out a sigh. Unexpectedly, after Mina's group found out, they took the initiative to apply one by one to replace Sync's group. And Ellie insisted on following him to help him handle official matters. Seeing Luong sighing continuously, Ellie quickly comforted him, "Young master, you don't need to feel guilty. It's been a week since the news of the sports festival was released. Didn't you tell us to not do anything these 7 days, we've rested enough." Below the stadium, the cheering sound of the fans rang out, "Long live the Apple District. Our 13th district leader will definitely win the championship. Miss Monica, keep it up, the athletes are entering the battle." Seeing the commotion outside, Ellie looked over excitedly, "Young master, the athletes are entering the battle." The host introduced the athletes from the Apple area, they will compete in the categories of short distance running, endurance running and swimming. Ellie's eyes lit up, look at Monica. Everyone in the stands also focused on Monica, cheering and shouting. "Miss Monica, will you marry me? You must win first place in the sprint. I, Monica, am willing to give you everything I have, Miss Monica, do your best." Monica raised her hand and waved with a smile, thanking everyone for their love, "I will definitely do my best." Looking at the loud cheers from the audience, Ellie exclaimed. Monica was indeed the most popular dance teacher in Cheonan City. She was now beautiful and confident, completely different from when they first met. Luong nodded in agreement, "That's right, time really flies." Ellie's eyes fell on the 2 people behind Monica, these 2 people stood straight, walking with dignity. Both of them exuded charisma, "We will definitely shine," 12 to 121. Ellie said in surprise, she didn't expect the 2 princes of Torola to win the regional competition, they also participated in the sports festival. Jenny seems to be into swimming, didn't see that she could swim. Seeing Ellie so excited about the tournament, Luong suggested, "Why don't you come down and play too?" Ellie shook her head and refused, "No, this place has a panoramic view, and the sofa is more comfortable than the chairs below." Just then, Ellie's eyes widened, it was her. Ellie clenched her trembling hands and cried miserably. If time could be turned back, she would definitely not let her run amok. Luong asked doubtfully, "You mean, her?" Ellie felt even more aggrieved and nodded. The girl in the 2 people's words was Nicole, she walked below to the cheers of "VU Miss Nicole, don't be nervous, you can definitely do it." Nicole waved her hand and replied, I will definitely try to win the championship." Ellie sadly explained, from the time Nicole signed up for the competition, participated in the selection, and trained, until now, she had not eaten anything Nicole cooked for 8 days, 2 hours, and 25 minutes. Luong also understood this feeling, and let out a frustrated sigh. He also missed her. Then, the 2 of them sighed together and lamented, if only the sports festival could end quickly. Luong forced a smile and said, "Okay, now is not the time to lament, it's our turn to appear." Luong went up to the podium and announced to all the athletes and spectators, "A month ago, we experienced an unprecedented storm. We held firm and quickly restored life due to natural disasters. Everyone has devoted precious energy to this campaign. Today, we hold this sports event and hope it can bring excitement and joy to everyone." Next, after a pause, Luong announced, inviting everyone to enjoy this sports feast together. After Lu Feng's speech, everyone at the sports festival shouted in unison, "Long live His Majesty, long live His Majesty, long live His Majesty." The host stirred up the atmosphere. Phew, the opening ceremony of the first season of Chang'an City's Summer Sports Festival has officially begun. Everyone is invited to enjoy the horse riding performance. The audience on both sides asked suspiciously, I've been curious since just now, why can we hear His Majesty and the MC's voices from so far away? Some people speculate, perhaps it's the power of that black box. I heard, it's called a speaker invented by His Majesty, it has the function of amplifying sound. Some people saw the business opportunity in this item, that black box was so powerful. If he could buy Torola and resell it, he would definitely make a lot of money. Some people said disdainfully, you are too ignorant, this place is full of things that can be sold for money. Not to mention anything else, is our seat comfortable? And the leather underneath can be changed, isn't it magical? Can we earn a lot of money by taking it back? The most important thing is that. The other person was determined, I will definitely buy such a chair comfortably. The villagers were full of anticipation, saying that the skin underneath could be donated to His Majesty Lauren, perhaps he would bestow upon me the title of Baron. Looking at the dome on his head, if he mastered that technique, his descendants would not fear poverty for generations. His Majesty Luong is really formidable, why not just directly apply to settle here and be done with it? A blue-haired elf stood by and listened to everything, his eyes filled with contempt. In his mind, he thought, the power is very strong, the coastal towns of Han Dynasty have suffered such a severe natural disaster. According to his previous experience, it will take at least 3 months to complete the renovation and restore life. But at this time, it had only been a few days since the disaster relief, and Chang'an City had already seen so many merchants entering, creating a wave of enthusiasm for selling goods. Based on his observations, the Han Dynasty itself relied too much on commerce, and most of their goods were sold outside. The storm had definitely affected their foundation, and Luong now completely lacked the funds to save the day. That is to say, he completely gave up on helping the cities in distress. Instead, he gave supplies to the merchants, reaped the benefits, killed chickens for eggs, and exhausted himself. He couldn't wait to organize such a big sports event, wasting so much money. Wasn't it to put on a show for those merchants, to show off his national power, to cover up the tragedy at the coast? Han Dynasty is on the brink of exhaustion, only trying to hold on, maybe many refugees will revolt. He thought of Luong crying and pleading with him, Count, Han Dynasty is no good. I can give you the throne and all the technology, please help me, my lord. As for him, he just needs to show mercy and fulfill Lu Feng's request. If you are so sincere, I reluctantly agree. The more he thought about it, the more pleased he became. He thought to himself, as long as he waited here for Lu Feng to come and beg, he would be able to get the Han Dynasty. Just then, he was pushed away by someone from behind. Hey, what's wrong with this person? The person behind him spoke up in annoyance, it was really disorganized. The competition started 2 minutes ago and he stood up again, disturbing us from watching. We called him but he didn't answer. He quickly sat down and hastily said, sorry. The person next to him saw the tense atmosphere and quickly stepped in to mediate, everyone, don't be angry. Peace is the key to success. Perhaps he saw his favorite player getting too agitated. Everyone understood each other and wanted to have fun watching the competition. The blue-haired elf said to the fat man with emotion, thank you, I was thinking too much just now, and suddenly stood up excitedly. The fat man smiled and replied, no need to thank me, we are sitting next to each other, it is fate. The fat man ate the cake and asked curiously, I don't think you look like someone from Chang'an City, from outside. The blue-haired elf nodded and replied, that's right, I'm Lester from Larson. The fat man smiled smugly, I told you, I'm not from Chang'an City, I'm from Jelan City. The blue-haired elf said in surprise, isn't Jelan City the city that suffered the most from natural disasters? Sir, you're a refugee. The fat man waved his hand and smiled, what are you talking about? Jelan City really suffered a serious natural disaster, but it's not to the point of having to flee. On the third day after the storm, the city lord still sent food and supplies. In just 2 or 3 days, tell me, they've rebuilt Jelan City even better than before. I don't think there's any way an old man like me would hear that Chang'an City is having a sports competition and come here by spaceship. I also met many people from other cities who came here like me. These past 2 days, Chang'an City has been so lively. The person behind him spoke up, old man, stop talking, the competition is getting intense. The fat old man smiled shyly and said, okay, I'm so embarrassed, I'm old but I just like to talk nonsense. The blue-haired elf knew this information and felt uncomfortable. How could it be possible? The Great Storm 3 years ago took Larson 3 months to complete the comprehensive rescue. Some places were so dead that they were even deserted. But Luong, he actually finished it in just a few days. Those refugees also came from different places to participate in the Chang'an City Sports Festival. How did he do it? The strength of Han Dynasty, is it that terrifying? At the gym, the MC announced that the 400m preliminary round was about to begin. Please take your seats, athletes. The audience shouted, don't be nervous, everyone is in the best condition now, just do your best. The Apple region is the champion. It doesn't matter if you don't get a place, everyone will forever be our pride. Monica smiled brightly and replied, thanking everyone for their support. The audience blushed, nosebleeds, and raised their thumbs in exclamation, Miss Monica is smiling at me. The person next to Kin often said, get lost, that was smiling at me. Others saw them making noise and angrily said, you guys be quiet, don't disturb the players, and cause trouble for Miss Monica. The contestant beside him looked at Monica being welcomed like that and thought uncomfortably, these people are so noisy, have they never seen a woman before? This Monica, one look and you can tell she relied on men to get ahead. If it weren't for her skinny arms and legs, how could she have made it to this round? Monica felt the unfriendly gaze, suspiciously turned to look at the girl next to her. The girl snorted and said, humph, sports competitions are fair, don't think you can win based on your looks. Monica was full of questions, not knowing what the girl meant. The referee stood up, raised his gun high, and invited the players to take their positions and get ready. Monica looked straight ahead, filled with determination. His Majesty once said that friendship comes first. The girl beside her looked at Monica with disdain, thinking, humph, let's see what kind of ability she has. The referee rings the bell to announce the start. As soon as the signal was given, Monica ran forward at full speed. The girl also quickly ran after them, her heart still filled with disdain. She ran so fast at the beginning, did she think it was a 100-meter sprint? Looking at the feet running forward like flying, the audience discussed enthusiastically, the last 100 everyone started to break through. All the contestants accelerated. Monica didn't accelerate, she must have run too fast at first, now she's out of breath. This is bad, she's about to be caught up. Just then, on the running track, the girl ran past Monica. She smiled smugly, just like that, not relying on men, is that not good enough? Monica wondered as she ran, what did she mean? On the stands, Monica's supporters were upset and said, what is she saying, she is insulting Monica. The other person retorted, isn't it right, this Monica is completely a flower vase. Monica's supporters angrily shouted, which district do you guys come from to have this quality? You're slandering people. Monica is still ranked second now. Isn't this strength? Those people refused to give up and insulted her, it was obvious that they had brain problems. Women who relied on their looks to get ahead should not participate in sports competitions. Now that everyone is starting to gain weight, she will quickly fall behind. The blue-haired elf looked at the chaos below, excited in his heart, a fight is about to happen. His gaze turned towards the VIP room, thinking to himself, no matter how formidable Luong is, he is still just a young man with no experience. Now, he is really struggling. In the guest room, Luong heard the information Ellie reported, but still calmly said, whatever, don't worry, nothing will happen. Ellie looked at the increasingly chaotic situation, her face full of worry, but, young master, I'm really not joking with you, there's going to be a fight down there. Luong said confidently, there's no fight, just wait and see. I guess, they'll get along very quickly. Outside the stadium, the MC spoke enthusiastically. After Emily teased Monica, the two launched a fierce competition. They were only 50 meters away from the finish line. Next, Monica will surpass Emily. At this moment, Emily suddenly tripped and fell, rolling onto the field. The MC shouted, what, Emily fell, hope she's okay. But for the players behind, this was an opportunity. Player number 1 Emily fell into player number 3's track, but player number 3 didn't slow down at all. What should they do? Monica looked at the girl who was flying behind her, not slowing down at all. She was worried. The person behind her was so fast, it seemed like she had no intention of stopping. If she bumped into Emily, the consequences would be unimaginable. Monica looked at the finish line ahead, deep in thought. Monica closed her eyes determinedly, letting it go. Seeing Monica's expression, the audience exclaimed in surprise. Look, Monica turned her head back. Monica is crazy, if she keeps running she can get first place. Monica quickly pulled Emily out of the track. Emily looked at Monica in surprise, you actually helped me. Monica replied, didn't His Majesty say so, friendship first, competition second. After confirming that Emily was okay, Monica turned around and continued competing. I'll continue competing, you be careful. Ellie was touched and bit her handkerchief. Monica was still able to get second place in that situation. She was so amazing. I don't know why, but I'm very touched right now. Luong laughed and said, this was the charm of sports competitions, and it was also the original purpose of him organizing the sports festival. After the competition ended, Monica and Emily shook hands to make peace. Emily said, embarrassed, sorry, and congratulations on your good result in second place, good luck in the final. Monica smiled brightly and replied, thanks, I will. Luong seemed to have predicted this outcome and laughed. Although on the field, everyone was fighting, competing with each other, and sparks were flying. But off the field, a smile could still erase all hatred, and even become good friends. Only this kind of sportsmanship could truly unite the people from all over Han Dynasty. But the two of them had just argued to the point of death, and now they were hugging each other and crying bitterly. Sorry, we shouldn't have scolded everyone. It was our fault, we thought badly of ourselves, thinking that way about Miss Monica was wrong. Ellie on this side also hugged Lu Feng, emotionally crying, "Hick, I didn't expect the young master to have this intention. Next year I will also participate, supporting the young master." At this moment, Mina opened the door from outside and walked in, teasing Ellie. With her skinny arms and legs, it would probably be difficult for her to get through the first 100 meters. Ellie angrily rushed over, "Hateful, this big-breasted catwoman dares to tease me." Mina quickly avoided Ellie, smiling and joking, can't catch.